Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra ki jai. Nishingadev Bhagavan ki jai. Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Haridas Thakur Namacharya Tirabhav ki jai. Anant Gaur Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Gold Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Maharaja.
Okay.
Chandrika Didi, would you like to start Kirtan?
Thank you. I'll just begin by saying my Guru Maharaj's Pranam mantra, if that's okay. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Kripeka Vita Yamarida Rakshati Vaishnavanam Kripagalang Matha Prashrakami Shri Bhaktitam Bharatim Ashraya Maha. Shri Guru Charana Padma, page 28 in the yellow book there. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Satma Vando Muvi Savadana Mate. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhagati Sabha Vando Muvi Savadana Mate. Jahara Prasade Vai Bhavaturiya Jai Krishna Prati Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chiteti Kuriya Ekya Arona Kori Ho Mane Asha. Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Uttama Gati Jai Prasadi Pure Sava Asha. Chakshudana Dhiroje Janme Janme Prabhu Se Chakshudana Dhiroje Janme Janme Prabhu Se Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashita Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Abhijave Nasha Jati Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Abhijave Nasha Jati Vedikai Jahara Charita Vedikai Jahara Charita Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu Lokanath Lokera Jivana Lokanath Lokera Jivana Haha Prabhu Koro Daya Deho Mare Pada Jaya Haha Prabhu Koro Daya Deho Mare Pada Jaya Tupade Layena Sharana Ebi Josh Kushu Tribhuvana Tupade Layena Sharana Ebi Josh Kushu Tribhuvana Jaya Guru Deva 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 Jai Guru Maharaja Ki Jai Jai Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chandrika Didi, for your beautiful singing, and obviously today is obviously your Guru Padma's disappearance day. So it's such a beautiful offering that you were able to make to your Gurudev. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Vanchakalpatarubhisha Kripa Sindhubheva Patadanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. First of all, I'd like to offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my Guru Padma. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Stotara Sata Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And at the same time, offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Stotara Sata Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, the entire Rupanuga Guru Varga, all the sannyasi vrindas, and all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis that are present here, and those that will listen later on. I would like to thank everyone for joining our final day of this wonderful four-day festival. We've been really fortunate to hear such wonderful glories by such senior devotees, and I'm feeling very fortunate that I've been given such a wonderful seva to be able to serve all of you. I would like to take this opportunity to beg for forgiveness for any mistakes that I am creating along the way. I am learning, and I just pray that with the mercy that you all give, that I will be able to actually progress in bhakti and be able to become that darling daughter of Srila Gurudev. So as I will as we start our program, it is the divine disappearance day of Srila Haridas Thakur and Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur and our beloved Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaji, and two amazing, beautiful personalities that we'll hear about today. And I will start off with our first speaker, who unfortunately wasn't able to come with us on live, but he has done a pre-recording for us. He is very inspiring, he's very practical with his approach, and he makes everything very easy to digest, especially when it comes to like the Bhagavad Gita, that he did a seminar with us recently. So it is none other than our Bhaktivedanta Tapasvi Maharaji. So I'm just going to play his video now for you, and then I will move on from there. Please let me know if it's not audible.
Hit play at the top of your screen, Didi.
Not audible.
Okay, just bear with me. Okay, I'm just gonna try one more thing. Just bear with me, okay? What I'll do is, whilst I try to figure out why it's not working, we'll move on to our next speaker, and then we'll come back to Srila Bhakti Maharaji. I would like to
Come back to Tapasvi Maharaj.
sorry, come back to Tapasvi Maharaji, and I would like to invite our next speaker, who is a wonderful sannyasi, and I am very foolish not to be able to glorify him to the degree that he should be glorified, but I'm just going to leave it as that. It's none other than our Srila Bhakti Maharaji.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm on. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Ganahavika Giridhari Radha Vinod Vihari Ju Ki Jai Om Agana Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Taralaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarabhaktaya Manoha. Can you hear me loudly? Can you hear me clearly? I'm speaking quite quietly, but...
Yes, we can, Maharaji.
Okay. So it is a glorious day today. Here, where I am, it's the appearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So it's a very powerful day in this area. But also you're celebrating the disappearance day of Haridas Thakur. So it's Haridas Thakur that I'm going to speak on for a little while. How long do I have, Yashodhari?
30 minutes, Maharaji.
So I'm begging for the mercy of my most beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Amasto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of dandavats unto the lotus feet of our most beloved Nityalila Pravishta Amasto Tarasara Shishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my dandavat pranams. And especially all the Vaishnavas on this link today, and any others who may watch at a future time, my dandavat pranams to you all. So as I just said, today here is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day, but we're celebrating the Tirabha, the disappearance day of Haridas Thakur, who is a tremendous inspiration really for all of us when we consider his gifts and we consider his saintly character and his remarkable austerities, so powerful impressions he made in the world. So there's a beautiful description of how Lord Brahma, he came to Antardweep and he was begging for the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And Gurudev explains that Mahaprabhu can reveal himself before his pastimes because, of course, Mahaprabhu is eternal. So he reveals himself to Lord Brahma and forgives him for his offense. And Lord Brahma at that time begs that he may take his birth when Mahaprabhu manifests his pastimes in this world, and he may take his birth in a very humble, low-class family. That's his request to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, I'll read you this, it's very beautiful. Mahaprabhu then granted Lord Brahma his boon, saying, "You will take birth in a Muslim family and serve me by preaching and loudly chanting the holy names of Hari. I will appear in this form of Gauranga, having accepted the sentiment and bodily luster of my beloved Radha for the purpose of fulfilling my three special internal desires. I will madden all the living entities in the universe by making them dance in Harinam Sankirtan and by bestowing upon them the most elevated and resplendent prem, which is rarely attained even by the demigods. You will assist me in fulfilling my heart's desires to accomplish this." So Haridas Thakur, he took his birth in what is today called Bangladesh, a place called Benopali. And his parents died when he was quite young. He took his birth in 1450, which was 36 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when he was approximately 20 years old, then he came to Nadia district, and he came near Shantipur, where Advaita Acharya had his residence, and he stayed in a place called Fulia. He stayed in, it's like a cave, but it's actually the hollow trunk of a tree, but it's very big. It's like 3 or 4 men could lie down in it. And he stayed there on the bank of the Ganga, loudly chanting the holy name. And all the residents of Shantipur were so ecstatic to appreciate such a saintly person coming to stay in their midst. The Brahmanas at that time, they acknowledged his great qualities as entirely tolerant and extremely humble in every single way. Being born in a Muslim family and being with Vaishnavas and Hindus, one is compelled to remain in a humble state because of the nature of the traditional dynamics. And Mahaprabhu, to fulfill his desire to give the whole world this Braja Prem, he caused these types of persons like Haridas to manifest in such prominent positions in his pastimes. So Haridas was chanting very loudly in his cave in Fulia, but there were some very envious Muslims, and they reported him to the governor of the Muslim kingdom there. And he was arrested and he was brought in front of the governor. And he was questioned, why are you chanting Hindu names when you're born in a Muslim family? You should be chanting Kalam, or a Muslim invocation. And Haridas Thakur, he smiled and preached to that governor very sweetly. Haridas Thakur was an incredibly beautiful looking person. It's described he had lotus petal-like eyes coming close to his ears. He had long arms. He had all the external symptoms of a Purush, of a saintly personality. He was very beautiful. And the governor was really impressed by his personality and gravity and sincerity. But there was a Qazi present there also who was very envious. And he was goading the governor and telling the governor, no, you should not forgive this person. You should put him in jail, and then you should beat him in the marketplaces, because otherwise he's going to become an example for all Muslims to just go and join the Hindus like this, and this is going to create disturbance in the society. So the governor was compelled by this envious Qazi to punish Haridas Thakur by beating him in 22 marketplaces. And just considering this, it's incredible, because where I stay in this little village here in Swarupganj, I can think of about 8 or 9 marketplaces close by, but 22 marketplaces, that covers a lot of ground. So it must have taken at least the whole day for Haridas Thakur to go to all those marketplaces and being beaten so severely and so heavily by those Muslim guards. And the local populace, they were weeping, begging the guards not to beat him so heavily. But still the guards had been ordered by the wicked Qazi to do so, and they were beating him relentlessly. And they were trying to kill him. But by shaming him in these marketplaces, this is the idea, to bring great shame and infamy to this personality. But they couldn't kill him. And Haridas was only thinking of the welfare of the guards, in fact. And he turned to them at one point and asked, what do you want? Because they were getting exhausted. They were pleading with him. How can we kill you? And finally, and Haridas Thakur said, oh, you want me to die? And then he immediately entered into samadhi. and he stopped breathing, and the guards were happy, and they took him to the Qazi. And first of all, the Qazi, it was suggested that they bury him. And then the Qazi said, no, that will give him too much piety, because that's how the Muslims deal with their deceased. They bury them, etc. So they said, just throw him in the Ganga. That will be a fitting punishment for him. And when they were going to throw him in the Ganga, it's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Vishrambar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came directly and resided in his heart and became so heavy that the guards were actually really severely pressed just to put his body into the Ganga. But finally they were able to do that, and we know the pastime, how after some time in the Ganga, Mahaprabhu, by his potency, revived Haridas, and he came out of Mother Ganga at Shantipur, and he immediately just began chanting the holy names very loudly. So this is an amazing pastime, really, when we consider it, how this personality was made to suffer so intently, but he wasn't feeling the slightest pain or inconvenience. It's described he was totally immersed in the holy names of the Lord. And later on, during Mahaprabhu's Satpaharya Mahaprakash Sankirtan, Mahaprabhu revealed that actually he took those whip marks on his own back, and he revealed to all the devotees at that time, he showed the marks on his own back. And so Haridas Thakur wasn't actually suffering, even though he was being beaten. This is described just like Prahlad Maharaj, because we understand Haridas Thakur is a manifestation of Prahlad Maharaj and Lord Brahma in the same body. So that Nishta that Prahlad demonstrated when he was also beaten by elephants and thrown in cauldron of boiling oil and off cliffs and so on, Haridas Thakur also demonstrated that. So this is an amazing pastime, because when he came out chanting, then all the Muslims who had inflicted this punishment, they suddenly realized this really was an immensely saintly personality, and he really was an empowered soul, a saint. And they all came and they all begged forgiveness from Haridas, except the guards who were actually beating him. And it's described that those most envious people, they suffered horribly afterwards. They and their families, they died. They left from cholera or smallpox. They had fever like that. So this is a very inspiring pastime for the devotees to appreciate the power of the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because this is who Haridas Thakur, this is what he exemplifies, this chanting of the holy name. It's described how from his very birth he was inspired to chant Hare Krishna. And I've looked in many texts and I haven't found any reference to who was his particular guru. And if anyone on this meeting today is going to be able to tell us who was his guru, I would be most interested to know. He spent a lot of time with Advaita Acharya, and they were very close, and Advaita Acharya would regularly feed him and so on, and take care of him in many ways. And because of that, all the Brahmanas were so respectful to Haridas Thakur. So these are very inspiring, and this all happened before Mahaprabhu advented, because then Advaita Acharya was lamenting at the pitiable plight of the conditioned souls at that time. And he began his yajna to call the Supreme Lord. And it's mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that similarly Haridas Thakur chanted in his cave on the bank of the Ganga with the intention of causing Krishna's descent. So both of them were responsible, in fact, for the descent of Mahaprabhu. Sometime after this, before Mahaprabhu's descent, in fact, there's two instances where Haridas Thakur really demonstrates the immense power of the Mahamantra. It's described in this world by Prabodhananda Saraswati. He says, what man in the three worlds is not controlled by sex life? And those who are not controlled by sex life are seeking their fame and reputation on the material stage of life. So this sex desire is so strong in the conditioned soul. And even Lord Brahma himself, he fell prey to that by chasing after his daughter Vak. And even Shivji was enamored by Krishna's Mohini Murti incarnation. He wanted to see that incarnation, and he was also overcome with lust when he saw that. But in contrast to this, Haridas Thakur, he shows this remarkable pastime when Maya Devi, it's described one beautiful moonlit night when the moonlight was reflecting off the Ganga, and the atmosphere was very beautiful, and Haridas Thakur was chanting loudly in his cave. And Maya Devi herself directly approached him, and she circumambulated the tulsi that was there. And it's described how the fragrance of her body was completely intoxicating. It was like a springtime fragrance. So she made a very conducive atmosphere. And then it's described how Maya Devi, she requests directly to Haridas, oh, you're such a beautiful person, you must fulfill my desires to have union with you. And Haridas was not moved, he was unmoved. And it's described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that then Maya Devi, she began to exhibit postures that even the greatest of philosophers would be shaken by. So we can imagine this personality sitting, chanting in a secluded place, and Maya Devi approaching him like this. This is really a powerful pastime, as powerful as being beaten in the 22 marketplaces. Because we know our Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he once asked his followers at that time, he said, why are all these people coming to see me? Why are so many people taking shelter of me? And they all gave so many answers. And finally, Prabhupada said, no, it's because I have completely given up sex life. This means gross and subtle sex life. So here is Haridas Thakur being approached by Maya Devi directly. And yet he's immovable. He's like a stone. He tells Maya Devi just to sit there while he finishes his quota of rounds. He has to finish his mala. And then he says, I will satisfy you. But of course, morning eventually comes and Haridas Thakur is still loudly chanting. And then Maya Devi, she gets up and she leaves. And then she comes back the next night and the next night, 3 nights in a row. Just the same way as the prostitute that Ramchandra Khan sent also to Haridas in another occasion. So twice Haridas was tested in this way, which is really, we hear of so many saints like Vishwamitra, for example. He just heard the tinkling bells of Menika, that Apsara from Swagaloka, and immediately he fell down. So this is a tremendous inspiration for the bhaktas to take shelter of the holy name, because he is Nam Acharya. He is the one who is giving us the example of the holy name. It's described as he's described as Bhuvana Pavana. He is glorified as purifying all the worlds by his example of taking exclusive shelter of Harinam. So both of these examples, or 3, if we include the prostitute also, that was sent by Ramchandra Khan at another time, she came to also try to unhinge Haridas Thakur. And again, he transformed that prostitute into a complete Vaishnavi. And after the 3rd day, she went back and she gave all her goods away. And then she came back to reside in Haridas Thakur's thatched cottage at that time and worshipped Tulsi Devi. So, and Maya Devi, she requests initiation from Haridas Thakur afterwards. So these are amazing pastimes of this personality, Haridas. Mahaprabhu loved Haridas so much. He had so much affection for Haridas. And we know the different pastimes. But when Haridas moves to Puri, then he stays in Siddhapakula, in a very humble cottage there. And Mahaprabhu would come regularly, daily, to see him. But if we think that Haridas Thakur is only chanting and just in a mood of like sadhan bhakti, this is incorrect, because when we read the Harinam Chintamani by Bhakti Vinod Thakur, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is interviewing Haridas Thakur about the different offenses, and he goes through all the different offenses. And at the very end of this book, this Harinam Chintamani in chapter 15, it's described that Mahaprabhu is asking about Nam Ras. What is the nature of Nam Ras? And then Haridas Thakur, he begins fluently describing the different aspects of Staibhav, Vibhav, Alamban, Udipan, Anubhavs, Sattvika Bhavs, Vyabhachari Bhavs, etc., and the Samagri and the Ekadash Bhavs. He begins to describe all of the aspects of Rasa Tattva. So we should never think that, oh, Haridas, he's just like, he's not talking or saying very much about Rasa Tattva. He's just chanting Hare Krishna, not in a mood of Ragmag. Haridas Thakur was totally Rasik. He spent so much time with Rupa Goswami and so much time with Sanatan Goswami, very, very close, intimate time at Siddhabakul. Both of them stayed directly with Haridas. So the pastimes of Haridas Thakur are immense and so deep and so inspiring for the devotees to hear about and remember and recall. It's not many days of the year when we bring up the subject of Haridas. We remember him as the Namacharya. We say his name every day, but we don't often churn his pastimes specifically. And it's very special when we do get that opportunity to do so. So there are many other speakers on this meeting today, and I think I will end here, but I just want to express my deep appreciation for Haridas Thakur and all the gifts Mahaprabhu has come to give the power which is in the Harinam to realize the nature of Braja Prem. If we take to this process, this sadhan of chanting Hare Krishna seriously, 16 rounds is really not sufficient. Certainly as we become older as devotees, we must increase that. And Mahaprabhu wanted everyone to chant a lakh. Prabhupada wanted everyone to chant a lakh. We should try our very best to work towards that vow where we can chant like Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was chanting 3 lakhs a day, of course. But nevertheless, if we are able to chant a good amount of Harinam each, we will also be filled with that potency, which will give us the power to understand the philosophy and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially enunciated, of course, by Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami. So I'm begging for the mercy from you all to please give me some strength to practice this vow that Haridas Thakur exemplified in his life and pleased Mahaprabhu so much with his activities. The beautiful description of his departure, I'm sure, will be spoken by others. Sripad Bhakti Siddhanti Maharaj is here with us today, and Bhagavat Maharaj is here today, and Nemi Maharaj is here today. All these very elevated personalities. So I've just scratched a very little bit of the nature of Haridas, and I'm offering all my Dandavat pranams to such a great personality today. Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai, Vaishnavas ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhavevacha, Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.
Thank you so much, Maharaji. I just wanted to kind of say that it's really what you said about Srila Haridas Thakur and how he has got the moods of the deep rasa as well. It's not just Harinam, and actually when you're practicing Harinam, it is that you're developed into that mood of ras. It's not just I'm just chanting Hare Krishna, because they've got that mood and they break down every part of that, and go into the pastimes of it. So I think that's the gravity is there if we know how to do that. So thank you for that. And also Jiva Bhavan Prabhu said that in Prem Vilas, Haridas Diksha from Sri Advaita Acharya.
Okay. I was thinking that. I was discussing with the Pasimar. I said the only person I could think of would be Advaita Acharya. But then I also still thought that maybe he had some contact with Madhavendra Puri. I didn't know. So Advaita Acharya gave him Diksha mantra. That's very good. Thank you, Jiva Pavana Prabhu. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Maharaji. So as we move on to our next speaker, I'm going to see if I can actually get this to work this time, which is our Shripad Tapasvi Maharaji. So just bear with me. If not, we'll move over to the next speaker as well. Just bear with me. Please do let me know if it's audible.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams, dear devotees.
Good.
Today is the auspicious day of the disappearance of Srila Haridas Thakur and the disappearance day of Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj. So I'll speak for a few minutes on Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj. First, let me offer my Dandavat Pranams to my beloved masters, Nityalila Pravishta, Srila Gaura Govinda Maharaj, Nityalila Pravishta, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Nityalila Pravishta, Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj, Nityalila Pravishta, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and to all our Guru Varga, and to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Hare Krishna. You have to approach Sri Guru with great love, with great trust, with an open heart. We are not aware who we are. He is aware who he is. He is also aware who we are. I understood Maharaj knew exactly who I was. And the irony of this was that I had no idea who he was. On my first meeting with Maharaj in Mayapur, he radiated a childlike delight. There was a sense of grace surrounding him. In one sense, Maharaj didn't teach bhakti. There's no way to teach it, but he took my mind away from me so that my whole energy moved into my heart. In that place, he taught me trust is possible only if you first trust in yourself. If you trust in yourself, you can trust in me. If you don't trust in yourself, then no other trust is possible. I stayed around him to soak up his presence. In his eyes, I found my own truth. And being in his seva, I fell more easily into our connection. He spoke often not in words, but in the wordless language of the heart, like an oracle who only speaks the truth. He taught me to listen. Often we become confused with so many external voices, but he taught a different language. When I felt no support amongst others for my deeply felt truths, I experienced isolation. Maharaj showed me how to be strong and celebrate the fact that our vision can be strong enough to even to survive the powerful human need for approval from others. Be a light unto yourself, he said. Over time, I understood that Maharaj is not a master over others, but a master of himself. And this self-mastery was reflected in his every gesture and his every word. The way he interacted with the world was totally different. A living example of the highest potential that lies within each and every one of us. Being with him, I received the extraordinary gift of feeling at home wherever I was. I had a suitcase with all my belongings in it, and I was feeling a little disheartened that this is all that I have in the world. And so I spoke to Maharaj and said, Maharaj, this is everything I have in this one small suitcase. And Maharaj smiled and said, don't worry. I have been like that for 60 years. So hearing that, I then felt wherever I went, I was at home, because I had nothing in this world, but everything at the same time, the Vaishnava association. Maharaj could not be enslaved. He cannot be imprisoned. In one sense, he was the greatest stranger in the world. He doesn't seem to belong to anyone. No organization can confine him, no community, no society. I saw this in Maharaj, his complete dependence upon the Vaishnavas and Krishna. At the same time, he was so compassionate. Even though he was so knowledgeable, he always considered himself a servant. He had so much responsibility, but his meditation was always, how can I serve? Whenever I go to a temple or a surrounding areas, I meet people who remember Maharaj, and inevitably they've been touched by Maharaj's compassionate nature. Even the simple devotees who may not be noticed, Maharaj had served them in some meaningful way which they remembered. He led by his example by serving the Vaishnavas and hearing their instructions. You can see proof of this when you see how many titles Maharaj received, how he was honored by his Guru Varga. One time he showed me some of the certificates where it was written in Bangla, never lazy, and his favorite one, always alert. He had so many titles given to him over the years. There were many. This showed me the affection the seniors, the disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur had for him. How did he gain their love and trust and affection? He told me the secret. I am your Das, Dashoshmi. He showed this not just by his words, but by his relentless dedication, his seva. If I want to associate with devotees, then I serve them. We should never accept defeat, always alert as how to execute the seva. When he stopped being the secretary of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math and another devotee took over, they saw that Maharaj did the job of 10 men, and some of the sevas, like organizing the South India tours, no one could understand how Maharaj was able to single-handedly organize and take full responsibility for these large events. These sevas even stopped after Maharaj stopped being the general secretary. He was ready to give his whole energy to serve others under the direction of his revered Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Daita Madhav Maharaj. He endeared many exalted Vaishnavas, Srila Bhakti Rakshida Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj. I think it was appropriate Maharaj left on Haridas Thakur's disappearance day. Haridas Thakur was so dear to Lord Chaitanya, to Mahaprabhu. When he left Mahaprabhu, when he left, Mahaprabhu picked up his body and danced with it. And then he personally did the final rites, and then Mahaprabhu sat outside the Jagannath temple to beg alms, to celebrate Haridas Thakur's disappearance with a feast. He was collecting alms for that. Similarly, when Maharaj was leaving, a great calmness descended, as if Mahaprabhu was in the room. His dear devotee was about to leave. All were chanting the holy names loudly. Maharaj was bringing us together in a unison heart while crying in separation. As in the disappearance of Haridas Thakur, all three were there, Mahaprabhu, the Vaishnavas, and the holy name. We experienced the same. Maharaj was in complete samadhi for the last 24 hours. Many have followed and believed in this Gaudiya philosophy, but there are very few examples of people actually living it. While many are involved in philosophies, he was involved in metamorphosis, in a transformational way, in an authentic alchemy. It changes you from base metal into gold, but its language has to be understood, not with our reasoning and intellectual mind, but with our loving heart. I am a servant, you are Prabhu. I am not better than others. How can I serve you with love, with compassion? These are Maharaj's teachings. These are the teachings of the Vaishnavas. We see his example, but it's difficult sometimes to learn what are the essential teachings of Maharaj. What I understand, he wants us to know we are one family. How to live that, how to serve. Then serve, everything will flourish. Put ourselves last. This I saw in him every day. He never asked for anything the whole time I was with him, but only thought how to serve. He cried when he said, I'm doing nothing, now all are serving me. These beautiful Vaishnavas show us the simple truth. If we can catch it, we can not only transform ourselves, but others. This transforms the whole atmosphere. It becomes a Vaikuntha atmosphere. If you please the devotees, you please Krishna. Through service and compassion, people's hearts change. Love changes all. And Maharaj showed us both how to live in this world and how to leave this world as a Vaishnava. These are some of my experiences with Srila Maharaj. Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Wow is what I'm going to say. I am totally taken back by Sripad Tapasvi Maharaj's offering to Srila Bharati Maharaji. You know, I've heard so many wonderful glories, and his main, you know, he's the embodiment of seva, and you know, those that spent many years with him, or even a fraction of a time with him, would have known that about him in particular. And I'm feeling very fortunate to have heard such beautiful glories about him today, by Sripad Tapasvi Maharaji. So thank you, Maharaji. I know that you're not live with us now, but thank you for sharing such a beautiful gem with us. So I would like to now introduce our next speaker. He is someone that I admire, someone that I look after or drive when I'm when he's in London, and I think we have a really good relationship, but he might say something completely different. He's more than just a Maharaj to me. He's like my brother, and that might be offensive to him, but that's he's just always encouraging me, and he always chastises me, but in the most sweetest ways, that makes me feel that I'm not being chastised at all. So that is none other than Srila Bhaktivedanta Siddhanta Maharaji.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaji.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjan Shalakaya Chakshurumlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnebhyo Namo Namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. My humble obeisances to my Guru Maharaj, Nitya Prabhu Om Vishnu Parastotishar, Shri Srimad Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, and similarly to my Shiksha Gurudev, Nitya Prabhu Om Vishnu Parastotishar, Bhakti Vedant Srila Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and to Nitya Prabhu Om Vishnu Parastotishar, Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj. My humble obeisances to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and all his associates, and to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all his associates, especially Sri Haridas Thakur, whose disappearance day we are observing today, to all assembled in the meeting, all sannyasis, Gandhi Padgan, Vaishnav and Vaishnavis. Hare Krishna. So much touching and inspirational Hari Katha we heard from Pujyapat Udandi Maharaj and Pujyapat Bhakti Maharaj. I left nowhere to say anything, but I still remember in 1997 when I was with my Guru Maharaj in Jagannath Puri, and after initiation while staying in that mud, Sri Gopinath Gaudiya mud, we came to hear, me and my godmother Madhapriya Prabhu together, we came to hear about there's someone who served Guru Maharaj so much in his life. And we asked brahmacharis, who's that personality? And they said, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj. Oh, we have never heard this before. Where do he stay? So they said, in Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. He always stay in Jagannath Puri, and sometimes he's traveling. So we went to see in the evening, Pujyapat Bhakti Vigyan Srila Bharti Goswami Maharaj. We asked brahmacharis, where is Maharaj room? Srila Bharti Maharaj room. They said, just go there. Was fortunate enough because 2 rooms together. In one room, Shri Krishna Keshav Prabhu, disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, who was personal cook of Srila Prabhupada, who cooked for Srila Prabhupada throughout his life and all the associates of Srila Prabhupada. And next door was Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj. We went inside, we paid obeisances, and he asked, what is your name? And we told our name, Krishna Kripa Das and Madhapriya Das. And we just said, Maharaj, we heard about you. You served our Guru Maharaj so much. He became so delighted to hear, we are coming from Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj. And without a single delay, without any delay, he started glorifying Guru Maharaj and his experiences with him. This is what impressed me so much. Without asking what your background, where you are from, nothing. Just immediately starting glorifying Guru Maharaj and his relationship with his godbrother, Shri Bhakti Daita Madhav Goswami Maharaj. I never heard all these glories ever before. And not only about Guru Maharaj and his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Daita Madhav Goswami Maharaj, but he started speaking the glories of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada and all his associates. I never ever heard this before. So every time I say in my Pushpanjali to the lotus feet, a personality who holds the legacy of the contributions or the specialities of all the disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Srila Maharaj served them day and night intimately, so much service he done, and so much association. That's why he has no other topic to speak. There are so many perspectives how we can see an Acharya, like sun, so effulgent. So many wonderful devotees can speak in many wonderful ways of their realization of their experiences about Srila Maharaj, glories and his contributions. What I understood from my very limited perception, I always saw him speaking even a simple topic, but with so much gravity. His words were not light. Even his joking sometimes with the devotees have some very great significance and has something to do with the reference of the Shastras. Always speaking something very high with so much gravity. And once upon a time, while he's speaking this, because when he starts speaking, he don't stop. He goes for hours and hours. He used to go for hours and hours and hours, non-stop. He needs someone to be next to his bed and hearing him. And he has so much topic to speak. So much topic to speak. And once upon a time, when we begged him, Maharaj, you are sick, please take some rest. Then he immediately spoke about the pastime of Srila Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj. That I also spoke to him once the same. Devotees requesting Srila Goswami Maharaj that you are sick and doctor told you to take rest. Srila Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj said, we are Saraswati Putras. We are Saraswati Putras. Saraswati means the goddess of learning. But he said, Saraswati here means Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. We are the sons of Srila Prabhupada. So we can't stop speaking. Speaking Hari Katha is our life and soul. Speaking Hari Katha is our Maun Vrata, the vow of Maun, vow of silence. Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj, he has, in the words of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, in his terminology, the word Maun, the vow of silence, is always speaking Hari Katha. Always. So Srila Maharaj, immediately after hearing this, that we are asking him to take rest, he quoted this, his experience, his dialogue happened with Srila Bhakti Hridaya Goswami Maharaj. You see? So all his words full of so gravity. Even any ordinary topic of this material world, any ordinary topic, he's connecting this with some pastime of Mahaprabhu or pastime of Krishna or Sharanagati. Always emphasizing on Shadanga Sharanagati Hai Bejahar Tahar Pratma Sune Shinand Kumar. Always saying Anukulasya Sankalpam Pratikulasya Vivarjanam Rakshatiti Vishwaso Gotitya Varnam Tatha Atma Nikshepa Karpanne. Always focusing on or inspiring everyone to follow this 6 limbs of Sharanagati. So, Srila Maharaj, I got opportunity to stay with him, to associate with him externally since 1997. And there was some times when me, my godbrother Madhapriya Prabhu and Maharaj alone, we used to go to Sri Jagannath temple to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. And he's giving each and every detail of each and every stone and the height of the dome of Lord Jagannath, the temple. Each and every detail. We went with him to Khirchor Gopinath at Ramuna. And he was giving so many details, even though we read in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. But the details which he was giving, so much gravity. Once upon a time, actually, there's so many things to say. I'm just get messed up and confused from where to start. And once upon a time, one brahmachari, as when he was staying in Faridabad, Shri Radha Madhav Gaudiya Math, so one brahmachari was singing Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. Srila Maharaj, when he came out to speak Harikatha, he asked, who was singing this? And the brahmachari said, I was singing this. And he started his Harikatha just by hearing this song. You know the meaning of this song? And the brahmachari said, Maharaj, it's better if you can explain us. I heard this explanation first time. Maharaj said, Shri Narottam Thakur is praying, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, Sei Mora Sampada, Sei Mora Bhajana Pujan. Our worshipable deity is Krishna. We chant the mantra of Krishna. We do vrata of Krishna. We remember the lotus feet of Krishna. But Narottam Thakur is saying something different. He's saying Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. The lotus feet of Shri Rupa Manjari is only my everything. It's only my shelter and everything. Sei vrata, sei tapa, sei mora mantra japa. That vrata, all tapasya, mantras, everything, the lotus feet of Shri Rupa Goswami. And after explaining this, then he said, what is the significance of this? This is Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. The predominance of Ashray Tattva over the Vishay Tattva. The shelter of worship is prominent than the object of worship, Shri Krishna. Okay. Because we are in our Sampradaya, the predominance of Radharani over Krishna. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, once while he was hearing a speaker speaking the topic of Ras Leela, where Krishna left Radharani and Radharani is feeling separation and started crying. Sacha mene tadatmanam varishtam sarvayoshitam hit gopi kaman aso bhajate priya tattva gattam vanam desham dittakesham abrvit na pareham chalitum naimam yatvate mana evam uktam priyam ahas kand uraytetim tata cha antartay Krishna savadu anvatatte. Shri Radharani feeling separation from Krishna, weeping and crying. Srila Prabhupada Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur immediately stopped this. No, I can't hear this. As Srila Bhakti Thakur is saying, Shri Krishna Virahe Radhika Dasha Amito Sahite Nari. I can't bear this separation. I can't bear this, that my Radharani feeling separation from Krishna. I want to hear, as Srila Gurudev also many times said, we want to hear Krishna feeling separation from Radharani. So immediately Srila Prabhupada stopped this and he took this verse from Geet Govinda by Jayadev Goswami. Itas tatas anusmritya anangavan khin manasa kritanu tapa sakalandi nandi tatant kunje vishad madhav. Radharani disappeared from Ras Leela and Madhav, Krishna, feeling separation from Radharani and calling out, in tears in his eyes, calling out Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. No, sorry, Radhe, Radhe, Radhe. And his black complexion turned to golden complexion. So, Srila Maharaj said, Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya give more importance to follow the Ashya Vigraha. And the best Ashya Vigraha is Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Rupa Manjari. So we have to follow the acharyas, not what our mind is saying. We have to follow the acharyas. Ye Mahajana Jagata Sapantaha. In the line of Shri Narottam Thakur, one should worship the lotus feet of Rupa Manjari. That is only our solace. Other time, while explaining Harikatha, he said, you know the reason why Mahaprabhu came to this world, descended in this world? He's asking everyone, Jare dekho tare ko ho Krishna upadesh. Amar agya guru haiya taro desh. To whomever you see, to whomever you meet, just give them instructions. Everyone should chant the name of Krishna. Bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, karo Krishna shiksha. And instructed directly to Shri Nityam Prabhu, to Shri Haridas Thakur, whose disappearance day we are observing today. Suno suno Nityanand, suno Haridas, Amar agya sarvatra karo prachar. Prati griye griye karo ei bikha. Bolo Krishna, bhajo Krishna, karo Krishna shikha. Mahaprabhu open instructions, universal instructions. Everyone chanting Harinam should chant Harinam. But Srila Maharaj gives such beautiful explanation of this. But in the Prem Rajya, in the realm of Prema, in the realm of Prema, the regulation, the rules and regulations, they get minimized and Prema overflows. And he gave example, Shri Advaitacharya Prabhu dancing right in front of Lord Jagannath's chariot at Rath Yatra. But he wanted to do parikrama of Lord Jagannath. And when Advaitacharya Prabhu doing parikrama, coming back again right in front of Lord Jagannath, Mahaprabhu said, Advaita, you got defeated. You lost, you lost, you lost. Srila Maharaj said, performing parikrama, this is what we are supposed to do. But Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu overruled this in comparison with seeing the darshan of Jagannath, having the darshan of Jagannath. You are bereft of the darshan of Jagannath because you went around Lord Jagannath. And another example, he said, Mahaprabhu always instructing everyone to chant Harinam, right? But ei matu dine dine Surup Ramananda Sane Nij Bhav Kare na Vidit Bhare Vishe Jwala Hoy Bhitre Anandamay Krishna Prem Advut Charitra Teen Dwar Kapat Prabhu Jahina Bahare Kabu Singh Dwar Pade Kabu Sindhu Tire. Mahaprabhu cannot bear separation staying in Gambira and catching Shri Sarup Damodar Goswami and Shri Ramanand Rai, even though he's been locked. And he used to open these three doors are locked. And Mahaprabhu used to run from Gambira. And sometimes he's falling outside the lion gate of Lord Jagannath and Kabu Sindhu Tire, and sometimes in ocean. Whole night in the ocean. His golden complexion turned to white, his all joints opened. And Sarup Damodar Goswami and other devotees in search of Mahaprabhu, early morning in search of Mahaprabhu. And Shri Sarup Damodar Goswami came to the shore and he asked the fisherman, and many details there. But he came to know about from the fisherman, he saw a big giant human being stuck in the net there. When Sarup Damodar Goswami came to Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he started chanting there, singing there, Mahaprabhu regained consciousness and he stopped Sarup Damodar Goswami. Why you did this? Why you doing kolahal? Srila Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Bhakti Goswami Maharaj, he used to speak this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Kolahal. Kolahal means disturbance. Why are you shouting and creating disturbance? What disturbance? Shri Sarup Damodar Goswami was only chanting Mahamantra loudly. But Mahaprabhu addressed that chanting Mahamantra, singing Mahamantra to be a disturbance to him. Why? Mahaprabhu, Srila Maharaj said, Mahaprabhu overruled this. Overruled this. chanting in comparison with that Bhav Rajya, that Prem Rajya, the realm of Bhav and that realm of Prema, where he was absorbed in. He was absorbed in that. And he said chanting and Sankirtan, he minimized that. The kolahal, that's a disturbance. So, in this way, not only the philosophy, but on a very practical ground, Maharaj was so intellectual. That's one, as I said earlier, many perspectives to see the glories of Srila Bhakti Goswami Maharaj Ji, but also practical examples. Once upon a time, one devotee asked this question, and Srila Maharaj gave answer. Maharaj asked the question, if you have one line drawn, how you can cut this line without cutting it? How you can minimize this line without cutting it? It's so difficult. We have to break that line, which is drawn on a piece of paper. How to break this line? So confusing. Then Maharaj said, just draw a big line parallel to that. And that previous line, which is drawn earlier, is already short, minimized. Very simple, right? So Srila Maharaj said, there is no need to speak to anyone, to criticize anyone. Just draw a big line. Just make your character, your morale so high. The other person immediately will be quiet. And Srila Maharaj said, I, throughout my life, associated with not ordinary personalities, all disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, and they all had very high morale. And I adopted from each and every one some mantras. Although my Gurudev, Sri Srimad Bhakti Daita Madhav Goswami Maharaj, I got Diksha from him. But all others are my Shiksha Gurudevs. And I adopted also mantras from them. What kind of mantras? Accepting any inspiration word which is turning point of our life. That's a mantra. So Srila Maharaj, without any hesitation, he used to tell his limitations. Yes, I was from very high class Brahmin family and I had so many reservations being born in a very high class Brahmin family. But by associating with my Guru Maharaj and his godbrothers, I came out of it. I understood Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. So every word of Srila Maharaj, full of gravity and connected to with pastimes. Even he smiled. He used to look at, when we go in his room, he's looking in the eyes and he starts staring from top to bottom. Even seeing the clothes what we're wearing. And he has something to do with any pastime. Something is there in his meditation, even just by looking one's cloth or one's the way of chanting, anything. So much observant. Just like X-ray eyes, piercing through heart and checking what you're doing and how you're falling and what is your conduct. I observed this many times by staying with him. And Didi, do we have 5 more minutes? Just 2 more minutes?
Yeah.
Because today's Disappearance Day, on this day, on the Disappearance Day of Srila Haridas Thakur, he manifested this pastime. But as Pujyapad Tapasvi Maharaj was saying, we were all there when Srila Maharaj was leaving his body. We were all there. And prior to that, he was in hospital. And he didn't want to be in hospital. I just want to share this. Maybe you have heard this many times, but it's very appropriate to speak on this day. So just 2 days back from this day, He was in hospital and he didn't want to be in hospital. He was in ICU, intensive care, and he didn't want it. So he called upon Madhapriya Prabhu, and he was 1000% confident for Sripad Madhapriya Prabhu. He served him so much, and we all witness of this. Pujapa Tapasvi Maharaj also know this. So he called upon him. He was there, I was there, but he wanted to speak to him. And he said, I don't want to stay here. I'm seeing Yamdutas here. I don't want to die amongst Yamdutas. I want to leave my body amongst Vishnu Dutas. In other words, he wanted to say, I'm only seeing doctor and nurses here. I don't want to die here. Take me to Mat. I want to die amongst Vishnu Dutas, means Vaishnavas around, wearing tilak, chanting. I want to leave my body like this. What is so confusing? Shall we hear him or shall we hear the doctor? What to do? But doctor said, no, he needs to be here. But Srila Maharaj expressed his desire, no. And at one point, we became quiet. Srila Maharaj said, you want to see your satisfaction or you want to see my satisfaction? You know, what you can see further, what we can speak further. You want to see your satisfaction or you want to see my satisfaction? And immediately, by some potency of his effulgence, the doctor called upon and he said, listen, we cannot do anything more than this. So generally we don't advise the patient like this, but I'm telling you, there is no point keeping him here in the ICU. If you want, you can just take him in your center and we can create a mini ICU in the room. He said this. And immediately Maharaj again called upon Madhapriya Prabhu and said, tell doctor, see these words, tell doctor, we don't want to stay in this hospital. We found a big hospital than this. We found a big hospital than this. So we don't want to stay in this small hospital. And also tell doctor we don't have money. So then they will release me because we have no money to pay the bills. And then Maharaj, he himself gave the explanation of this words. Because he said, never in my life I said lies to anyone. Isn't this lie that we have no money? Isn't this his lie that we have a big hospital than this? Because he was in a very big hospital. But Srila Maharaj wanted to say something else. That's what I was telling, gravity of his words. Srila Maharaj looked upon in the eyes and he said, you understand what I'm saying? When I'm saying we have big hospital than this, that means he remembered the words of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. That Mat is hospital. What can be big hospital than Mat? Where everyone comes with different diseases and get cured. And finally they get to Krishna. What can be big hospital than the body of Mat? So we found a big hospital. We don't want to stay in this small hospital. And when I said we don't have money to pay the bills, I'm not wrong. Because I'm very poor. I have no money. Mahaprabhu told, Prem dhan vina vyarth daridra jivan, das kori vetan mor deha prema dhan. Without attaining the wealth of prema, this life is poverty stricken, poor. And Srila Maharaj, in so much separation, he said, I have no prema. I didn't attain any prema so far. So I'm very poor. I have no money. So it's so difficult to understand the mood and the words of Acharya. So today on this day, his disappearance day, I pay my innumerable Dandot Pranams at his lotus feet. And if any offense, any mistake in serving him, wherever he is, please excuse me and inspire me every day so that I can remember him. Because by remembering him, we can remember all associates of Srila Prabhupada, and of course Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. Shri Srimad Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ji ki jai. Tade Tero Bhav Tithi ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Tero Bhav Tithi ki jai. Tapashan Gaur Hari ki jai. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maharaji, for expressing the gravity and of Srila Maharaji. Actually, I'm feeling very unfortunate not to be having had any association, but actually here in one way, I wish that I had some more association with him, but now hearing so many pastimes of Maharaji, I feel like also I'm getting to know him. So I'm very fortunate. Thank you, Maharaji.
Whenever I was traveling, preaching, I used to put Srila Maharaj on screen. Just 1 minute, sorry. Srila Maharaj on screen and get many devotees, newcomer, get initiated by him. So if Sundar Gopal Prabhu is here from Costa Rica, he knows this. When I was in Costa Rica preaching, we wanted to have devotees get initiated by Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj. So in his house, we have a big screen, and we put Srila Bharati Goswami Maharaj on the big screen and requested him to please give initiation, as it happened in Germany also, and in Holland also many times. So Srila Sundar Gopal Prabhu is witness of this. There were so many young boys and girls in the room, along with the disciples of Srila Gurudev in the room. There were like 50, 60 devotees. And when they saw Srila Bharati Goswami Maharaj on the screen, all started crying. I saw Sundar Gopal Prabhu, his wife, Mohani Didi, everyone was crying. But I was surprised why they're crying. So when initiation was over on the screen by him, and we just thanked him for his every time he spent with us. And I asked Sundar Gopal Prabhu and other devotees, why everyone was crying? So everyone said, just by seeing him, he reminds us of our Gurudev. He looks like Gurudev. We felt exactly Gurudev is speaking right from the screen to us. So in the separation of Srila Gurudev 2010, after that, there was a great hope. The Srila Bharati Maharaj was present on this planet, and he gave shelter to all of us, his Diksha and Shiksha disciples, to all of us, even to sannyasis, to seniors, Shamrani Didi, so senior, everyone was getting inspired by him. But since he left, I feel empty again. There is no one. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. I think we're all feeling somewhat bereft of such an exalted Vaishnav. That is just, it's difficult. Okay, so I'm going to move over to our next speaker, who is who's always very patient with me, who holds a lot of gravity in his Harikatha, and is always very wonderful when he speaks his Harikatha. It's none other than our Vipin Bihari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I'm audible to everybody. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapati Shri Guru Vaishnavanash Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganaragnathan Tam Sajivam Sadhvitam Savadhutam Parijan Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padani Sahaganadalita Shri Vishakhan. First of all, I offer my humble obeisances at the divine lotus feet of my most worshipful spiritual master, Bhakti Leela Pravishnu Vishnupada, Ashtotarshita, Sri Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Guru Maharaj. Then I offer my humble obeisances at the divine lotus feet of Abhinna Guru Pada Padma, Bhakti Leela Pravishnu Vishnupada, Ashtotarshita, Sri Srimati Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Then I offer my humble obeisances to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaji, to Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaji, and to all the other Vaishnavas. Please accept my humble obeisances. Before I start off, whatever little I've heard from the Vaishnavas, I would like to express one thing, that association or without the mercy of Sripad Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaji and especially Sripad Madhapriya Prabhuji, it would never be possible to even know about Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaji. It's his relentless, tireless service, and they have been able to capture the real moods, the real essence, as Maharaji was just saying about the gravity of Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaji's words was not easy to understand. So those who are close with him in terms of a heart-to-heart connection, not just by Vapu but by Vani. So my humble pranams to both of them, and especially both of them have played an instrumental role in terms of nurturing me over the past 6-7 years. So Maharaji, please accept my obeisances. I'm just going to read the offering which Sripad Madhapriya Prabhuji offered at the feet of Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaji at Gopinath Bhavan in 2017. And in that particular offering, you can actually understand Sripad Madhapriya Prabhuji's this unspoken connection, because he does not really come out, and deliver such lectures, but that day he was being requested. So Sripad Madhapriya Prabhu says in that lecture that Maharaji once said to him that my charitra, my building of my spiritual life, if I say that it's only based on the instructions and the conduct, the behavior, which I have seen in my Guru Maharaj, that is Srila Bhakti Dayit Madhu Goswami Maharaji, if I say that only he is the one who has given me the instructions, that would not be right. He said that just like in a family, there are so many relatives. The mother and father are the main ones, but at the same time, there are other people in the family who also contribute to the development of the consciousness, development of the character, development of the behavior of a particular child. Similarly, my life, my spiritual life, was also being nourished, was also being built up by taking the instructions not only from my Gurudev, but instructions from all the other disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Instructions in terms of first he served them and then he took instructions from them. He would always emphasize on this. The service is the only way to please the Vaishnavas. If Vaishnavas have a particular sankalpa, they have a particular vow which they have taken to serve their Guru, and if anyone wants to attain any mercy in the path of bhakti, they must contribute towards that sankalpa, that vow of a Vaishnava, and by that all mercy would automatically come. As Maharaji is a direct recipient of his mercy, direct servant, through him and through Sripad Madhapriya Prabhu, and by their relentless effort of releasing so many books which reveals the glories, though it reveals the glories of the disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, but actuality, if Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj had not opened his heart, if he had not opened all those jewels which he had kept in his heart, I would say that even the names of Srila Prabhupada's, disciples would not be even heard by the larger community. Now, all around the globe, everyone is honoring the Tithi of Srila Maharaji, and he himself has given this instruction to all of us that we must honor the Tithi of the Vaishnavas with great reverence. We should not miss it. This word Vaishnav Seva, just like Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, he made Harinam to be a household name, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. If I'm exaggerating something when Maharaji is here, he can do some corrections as always. I speak a lot of wrong things. As Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada made Harinam to be a household name, like our Srila Gurudev, he made Braj Bhakti, and especially the mood of servitorship of Srimati Radharani as a household name, means those who came in contact with him. Similarly, Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ji, he made Vaishnav Seva a household name. Anytime everyone would ask him something, he would bring it to Vaishnav Seva. But what is Vaishnav Seva? Just doing, as Srila Gurudev was saying in one of his lectures when he is glorifying Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, by giving something, by offering them something, yeah, that's one part of Vaishnav Seva that probably is a beginning. But if Vaishnav Seva has taken place or not, what is the proof? Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ji would say, if Vaishnav Seva has taken place, and if we have really performed sincere Vaishnav Seva, then our love and affection towards Vaishnav would increase. We would start feeling that affection towards them. And then these Vaishnavas would actually reveal us the glories of Sri Guru to us. Hari Guru Vaishnav Tinara Smaran Hai Vigna Vinashan. By the mercy of the Vaishnavas, we would be able to understand the mood of our Sri Guru. So Srimad Madhavpur Prabhu, he says in that particular lecture that Maharaj Ji said that my character, my whole build-up is not only being done by what I have received from my Gurudev, but from all the other Vaishnavas. He talks about receiving different mantras. One time I was watching one of the darshans of his, where Sripad Bhaktivedanta Nemi Maharaj Ji, who was there, and this question was asked to him that, Maharaj Ji, if we hear from a Vaishnava, do we have to formally accept them that they are our Shiksha Gurus, or we can just hear from them? Maharaj Ji very emphatically, because the question was asked, so when he could not understand, I think there was some other Prabhu, he, when he spoke the question again, when he mentioned the question, Maharaj Ji emphatically said, yes, just by hearing, one becomes a Shiksha Guru. Formally or informally, it's not there. As Srila Maharaj Ji set up this example, which was very much needed after Srila Gurudev's disappearance, that what is a Vaishnava? Vaishnava is not broad-minded. Maharaj Ji would always say that I've never asked anyone that from which mat do you belong to. I've never asked anyone whose disciple you are. He was so welcoming. As we were hearing that heart-wrenching offering made by Sripad Tapasri Maharaj Ji, so beautiful. In that he specifically mentioned about how to make this a perfect family, a family which invites everybody to be part of this Gaudiya Vaishnava community and reciprocate that love and affection, as we saw in his own life. As Maharaj Ji was just mentioning, his beautiful smile, that Smita Hasya, which would appear in his face, that was so beautiful that it would actually release all the distress. One would get relief from all the distress. And his glasses, that vision, when he would have, as Maharaj Ji was just saying, that when he would look at you from top to bottom, as he was doing it, as he was scanning someone, he was like a scanner. So he was not seeing the bodily things. He was seeing the spiritual spark which is there in the body through his lenses, through his glasses. When he would have his glasses down just a bit like this, and he would smile, or he would look at you, you would feel like that he's actually piercing your soul. I asked one question to him on the very first meeting when I met him in 2013 at Sri Radha Madhav Gaudiya Math, where by his great mercy, by his, I would say, unexplained and unknown mercy, that he ended up there and he stayed there for a long time and blessed the entire community. There, I asked him this question personally, that Maharaj, doing service, we're doing so many things, but then the mood of service is missing, means this mood of being a doer, that I am doing something, is always there. And that does not go away because of the thick false ego. I give something, I do something. Externally, people are appreciating. Externally, everyone thinks that I'm a servant, but inside of my heart, I know that there's so much of abhiman. There is so much of doership. How do I get free from this? I've never gotten free from this even now, by the way. In fact, the false pratishtha has increased even more. But then I asked him this question, and he said that always be in higher association. He said that if you're always going to be in your higher association, sincerely being in higher association, not physically, then you would never feel that you have, any sort of extra qualities. You would always feel humble. Something which he learned, something, the mantra which he took from Nitilila Pravishta Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ji. When he would go to meet with him, one time I was reading in a book called A Friend to All, Srila Prabhupada, where this particular pastime is being mentioned, that Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ji goes to meet or take darshan of Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ji. And at that time, the doctors had advised him that he should not speak. So he arrived at the door, and the disciple, I do not remember the exact name, I think Sri Bhakti Sundar Govind Maharaj Ji, he was there. I'm not sure whether he was a brahmachari at that time or sannyasi, he was there. So there was this conversation going on outside, and inside Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj Ji, he actually called from inside and said, who is this? Who is this? Then his disciple mentioned that is Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ji. He said, oh, let him in. So when Maharaj Ji walked in, he said that I was told that you're not well, so I really don't want you to speak that much because doctors have advised you. So Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj Ji said that, oh, they do not know that we are Saraswati Putra. We are sons of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who said that even 24 hours in a day is less for speaking Harikatha. When Srila Prabhupada was asked this question, that how do you feel? He said that physically I am good, but then my disciples do not allow me to speak Bhagavatam. Then the disciples said that, well, we let you speak 22 hours in a day. He said that, but in the creation of Brahmaji, 24 hours are less. Similarly, as Srila Maharaj Ji was saying, that whenever anyone would go, and especially him, whenever they would go to have his darshan in a room, just by seeing them, he would start speaking on something. That's the anurag which he had towards Harikatha. And in terms of Vaishnav Seva, we all know that how he would actually keep empty water bottles under his bed, which may seem to be very insignificant from the perspective, because this is like utilizing every penny of Krishna's money, every penny, everything which belongs to Krishna, utilizing and very carefully. So someone asked him that, Maharaji, why is it that you're keeping empty bottles under your bed? Sri Maharaji said that, nowadays I cannot serve that much. So when Vaishnavas would come, he had such an amazing mood, and that was reflecting in his personality. He was so effulgent. And when he would take a walk, he looked so royal. With a cane in his hand, and all those who have seen him, he would look so royal. Oh, Maharaji said that I asked this, okay, right? So Maharaji asked this question, that many empty bottles. So if I'm correct, whatever I've heard, that it is to serve those Vaishnavas who would travel in a train or who would go to different places, I would be able to offer this to them. And even to an extent, he said once when he was in Faridabad, it was the day of Nandotsav, and we were not sure that Maharaji would come to speak or not because he was not well, but he did. By his mercy, he came. It was so beautiful. He only sat for like maybe half an hour there, and he was there, and devotees were singing songs of celebration of Krishna's birth. Then Maharaji spoke for a very short time. I'm not going to take too much of time. There's lots of things which are coming. He said that today is Nanda Mahotsava. Mahotsav means lasya and hasya. I do not know the literal meaning of lasya and hasya, but it is something to do with singing and dancing. Like this Mahotsav is singing and dancing. Today, Nanda Baba and all the Brajvasis, they are dancing. There's so much a wonderful celebration going on. And the entire universe is dancing because Krishna has taken birth. However, he said that, but I cannot dance at this moment because I'm in this old age, I cannot dance. But I have come to see the Vaishnavas dancing. So beautiful. Even his pranam mantras had so much of gravity, especially when he would sing about Vrindaya Tulsi Devyaya Priyaya Keshavastacha. It was so much of gravity. When they talk about sound vibration, yes, there is something called sound vibration, which many of us experienced when we were in his divine association. So he said that lasya and hasya means to dance. However, I can't but I've come to see all of the Vaishnavas dancing. At his own, on the day of his Vyas Puja, I'll speak this just a bit because I know my time is coming to an end. On his on his Vyas Puja at Jagannath Puri, so heartfelt and so heart-wrenching offering which he made at the when all the devotees were there. He said that today is my, everyone is coming to do Vyas Puja of mine, and I'm sitting on this high elevated seat, and all of you are sitting, on the ground. But today, all of you Vaishnavas mercifully have come to bless me. And he was not just saying these things. I mean, I learn all these things, words from Vaishnavas, and speak in Harikatha, which sounds very nice. But then Maharaj really felt when he said those words that I have come to seek you, all of you have come to give me blessings. It was so touching. It was so heartfelt. You could see that he really meant it. Just like one time Srila Prabhupada was in Sweden, and Srila Bhakti Swami Prabhupada, and he was in Sweden, and he was giving this, he was addressing this assembly. And in that assembly, what really happened that there were many, he was talking about Chaturvarna Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Bhavasya, the 4 classes of men. So Prabhupada was sitting on this high seat. They were all devotees with big garlands and everything. And then Srila Prabhupada was there. And this man stood up from in the assembly, and he said that, oh, so you think yourself to be 1st class of men because you're sitting on the dais and, accepting all these garlands. And you think us to be 4th class of men. Prabhupada said, no. Prabhupada immediately came forward and he started crying. And he said, no, I do not consider myself to be 1st class of men. And I don't mean that you are 4th class of men. In fact, I consider myself to be a 5th class of men. I'm even lower than that. So when these Vaishnavas say those things, they actually mean it. They have that sense of connection with the words which they're saying. So there's lots of things which are coming right now. I know that my time is coming to an end. Just would like to repeat the words of Sripad Madhapriya Prabhuji, that he at the end of that lecture he talks about the cat of a blacksmith. I'll take 2 more minutes. Cat of a blacksmith. He says that generally cats are very alert. If they're going to, walking into someone's house, they're very alert. If they're trying to drink the milk, they have their eyes, at all the places. But at the house of a blacksmith, who beats the iron and carves metals, the cat sleeps with so much of peace. The blacksmith keeps on beating the iron, so much of noise, but then she still sleeps, there. And other example, Maharaji would say about the milk which is being offered to a child by the mother, and the mother comes and says, drink the milk. The child says that, yes, I'll drink it. Next time the mother comes, says, drink it. The child says, yes, I'm drinking it. Third time the mother comes and stands in front of the television and takes away the remote control. Then the child says, what are you doing? He said, I asked you to take the milk. He said, I'm taking it. He said, no, you are saying it, but then you're not taking it. So Maharaji would say, Gyan is one thing, knowledge is one thing, application is the other thing. So I pray at his divine lotus feet through the mercy of the 2 most wonderful personalities who have impacted my life, and I pray at the lotus feet that they always keep me under some sort of external demonstration of service, Sripad Bhaktivedanta Siddhanti Maharaji and Sripad Madhapriya Prabhuji, because without them I would have never heard about this Vaishnava. Without them I would have never even heard about anything what I know. So they bless me today, and under their guidance I may be able to glorify Srila Maharaj one day by practicing a bit of what he has given. Thank you so much. Vansha kalpataru vaishya kripa sindhu bhayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Hare Krishna.
Vipin Prabhu, thank you so much. Can you hear me okay, by the way? Just put your thumbs up if you can hear me.
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
Vipin Prabhu, thank you so much. I think many of us are getting to know you through these festivals more and more each time you speak. You glorify the Vaishnavas beautifully, and you have a really nice way of both packing in the facts and the tattva and the intellectual side, but we can also feel the mood coming through. So thank you so much. Thank you on this beautifully auspicious day. I have an announcement. Some of you may have already got the WhatsApp. We're having some technical difficulties, hence I'm just stepping in for your Shadari. Her computer's frozen. The room has not crashed yet, as you can see, because we wouldn't be online still together if it had crashed. If the room crashes, look at your WhatsApp. We have a backup room. Just go into the backup room and we can all reconvene into that. At the moment, we'll just keep on this room. But I repeat, if it does crash, just go into the other room, which is on your WhatsApp, and we can reconvene as a backup. Haribol? Oh, I thought someone said something. Great. So let's move on to our next speaker. She is I always get a tongue twist on that word. Indefatigable, as in inexhaustible. I've never seen her anything other than in an energetic mood. Actually, I used this description for someone else yesterday, but it applies perfectly for her. She's got the power and the energy of a steam train, but the words that come out of her mouth are beautiful like a lotus flower. I'm very happy to welcome warmly our unique Srimati Charu Didi. Charu, please give us your offering. Thank you so much. Haribol.
Haribol. Okay, Dandavat Pranams, Babi. So, none of those things are true. I wish they were, but one day. So, pay my Dandavat Pranams to everyone. Namagina Tamanda Shagananjana Salakaya Chakshamalitamina Tasmai Shi Guruve Namaha. Vancha Kalpatribhyascha Kripa Sindhavivich. Patitanam Vaishnavabhyo. Sorry. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So before I begin, I'd like to offer my humble, most respectful obeisances. My heart like flowers at the dust of the lotus feet of my Gurudev, Vishnupada Sadashi Shima Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. At the same time, I offer my humble, most respectful obeisances, my heart like flowers at the dust of lotus feet of Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj, whose divine disappearance day is today, and also to Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, whose disappearance day is also. So, where to begin? Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Maharaj, he said, how should we serve lotus feet of the Vaishnavas after they disappear from this world? We can serve them by remembering and contemplating their divine characteristics and adopting their highly exemplary conduct, but especially by sharing and distributing their teachings to others, so others may get an opportunity to establish their relationship with them. So as Vipin Bihari Prabhu said, Guru Vaishnav Bhagavan Tina Smaran Ahoy Vigna Vinasan. So by remembering Shri Hari Guru and Vaishnavas, then all difficulties will be completely eradicated and our ultimate desires will be fulfilled. So we're trying, I must say that so far there's been so beautiful offerings, so deep offerings by Shripad Siddhanti Maharaj, by Shripad Tridanti Maharaj, Vipin Bihari Prabhu and others. Very, very nice. So after Gurudev physically departed this world, we were feeling separation to one degree or another, and trying to remember his teachings. But some of us were feeling the need for that continuation, that of course Guru is eternal, there's no doubt, Shri Guru is eternal, but still we're greedy to hear more. So I was wondering if we'd ever get a chance to have such high-class sadhu sangha again. And I heard that Shripad Siddhanti Maharaj and Madhava Priya Prabhu, they were serving and hearing one disciple of Bhakti Dayat, Madhav Goswami Maharaj. I heard that he was in Mayapur, and I went to see him in Shri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math there. And at that time, Madhava Priya Prabhu and Siddhanti Maharaj, they were there having an intimate discussion with him. It was in Hindi, so I couldn't pick up so much of what he was saying. But I got the feeling that this was no ordinary Vaishnav, and he was very grave and realized in what he was speaking. So he spoke little English to us, and I hoped in the future that I could hear more. So I would go and see him and try to get his association in Chandigarh, Pune, Faridabad, Puri, Vrindavan, and try to hear as much as I could, inquire from him. So I was amazed at how much taste he had for Hari Katha. He was like a river, like the Ganges, flowing non-stop. And he would literally speak non-stop unless and until like his servant Narottam Prabhu or anyone else would try to stop him. So I was just trying to soak up that nectar. So I wanted to say something, try to repeat something that I've heard of his glories today. So he was residing in the Mat, and in 1955, actually he was known as Narottam Prabhu, Srila Maharaj, that was his previous name. And he was given so much opportunity to intimately serve the godbrothers of his Guru Maharaj, that's the godbrothers of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. And by that continual service, then he received so much affection and blessings from them. And by that, I think, by serving his Guru Maharaj, by serving his Guru Maharaj's godbrothers, he received so much. That after they saw his complete dedication in service to Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas, then they gave him so much in his heart. And his Guru Maharaj, seeing that, also he gave him sannyas. That was in 1969, and he gave him the name of Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Maharaj. So he was entrusted with so many services. He was managed, I think it was mentioned before, he's managing Braj Mandal Parikrama, Navadvip Dham Parikramas, and he was given the responsibility to arrange the campsites, the tents, and for all the pilgrims who were coming. So he was all day busy in that, making so many arrangements, and all night he would stay awake, guarding all the pilgrims and their possessions from thieves, that might come and steal them away. So like this, he would walk around the campsite and he would chant Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, all night. He would do like this. So he said, actually, Maharaj said, I was feeling myself so fortunate, thinking that during the day, all the devotees are on doing parikrama of the holy Dham, and at night, I do parikrama of them while chanting the holy names. So he was so humble and so dedicated. In fact, he was given so many savas by his Guru Maharaj. He would take some pilgrims to North and South India on parikramas. He would preach throughout all of India, and he would arrange exhibitions in many places. He would oversee the constructions of many branches of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math. So for these reasons, then his Guru Maharaj appointed him as secretary of Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, and he was awarded the title of Seva Vigraha. Seva Vigraha means personal service. Personal servant. What am I saying? Oh, right. What do you call it? The personified service. And he would literally be the personification of Seva in every way. And I think, who is it? Tapasvi Maharaj, who also gave a beautiful offering. He explained that he received so many titles like Analasha, which means never lazy, and Sadasataka, which means always alert. So Maharaj, he had an insatiable greed for Seva. He said himself, actually, one can have an insatiable greed to eat varieties of tasty food. One can eat food for the eyes, for the ears, for the nose, for the tongue, for the skin, like this. But Maharaj, he had the insatiable greed to serve Hari, Guru and Vaishnava. So Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj, he once said that, he said to Bhakti Dayat Madhav Goswami Maharaj, that actually I'm seeing that Narottam Prabhu is Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj, he never sleeps. If he goes on like this, serving, then he'll become sick. So Srila Bhakti Dayat Madhav Maharaj said, actually, no one can stop him from serving. His life is to serve the Vaishnavas. So Maharaj was always alert in detecting any opportunity to serve, and therefore no question of laziness. And he actually imbibed the true subtleties of the mood of Seva. He personally understood all these moods of how to really serve Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. And he said that actually what is the meaning of a true Sevik? It's one who understands the moods and desires of the Savior, or the object of service, and renders service. So, and how he renders service? With a mood to please. So Maharaj knew all these subtleties of Seva. He performed a Kantaki Bhakti, and he did Snehmai Seva. That means service imbued with so much affection. Therefore, all strength came and his energy increased more and more to render more Seva. So he did profuse Seva throughout his life. That's why he got this title, Seva Vigraha, the personification of Seva. So Maharaj, he once told this beautiful remembrance of how, when he was in Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math, he said that, you know, the Supreme Lord, he knows all languages. He not only knows human beings' language of the demigods, language of the animals, birds, insects, but the question comes, which words will Bhagavan sincerely hear and pay full attention to? Then he gave the example of Advaita Acharya, Gajendra, Draupadi, which I won't go into any detail about now, but he said that, however, our prayers never seem to reach the ears of Krishna. Why? Why doesn't Krishna ever listen to our prayers? So he said, I observed that there was one Bengali devotee, and he was staying in the mat, serving this cow. His cow's name was Saraswati, and it was in the mat in Hyderabad. And he was serving with so much love and affection, and every instruction that Bengali devotee gave the cow would obey every instruction. So he was, Maharaj said he was observing this, and then one Bengali devotee approached him and he said, well, I'm seeing that this cow's obeying all this Bengali devotee's instructions, and I'm just wondering, is this cow knowing Bengali? Is she from Bengal? And then Srila Bharati Maharaj said, actually, cows know all languages. They know Bengali, Hindi, English, Tamil, all languages, but the cow will only obey those instructions by which person serves lovingly. So she said, if you say something, even in Bengali, she won't respond at all. Only if you've served her lovingly will she respond. So this is in the same way, like the Supreme Lord, that Krishna, he only responds to those who render loving devotional service to him with a sincere desire to serve. He doesn't hear the prayers of anyone else. So I was really touched when I heard this example. It's like, what an amazing example. And Maharaj was like this. He used to, like Siddhanti Maharaj and others said, he used to take any exchange, any observe anything, and he would make it into an amazingly deep example for us to really contemplate and imbibe. So there was one godbrother of his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Madhav Goswami Maharaj, called Srila Krishna Prem Das Babaji Maharaj. And one time he fell and injured his tailbone. And after he injured his tailbone, then he needed help from Gaudiya Math, Sri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math in Calcutta. So he approached the mat, and Srila Bharati Maharaj readily admitted him to hospital. So during that time when he was in hospital, Srila Bharati Maharaj served him so much, served him as best he could. However, later Maharaj heard that he criticized his Guru Maharaj. So he wasn't feeling so inclined towards him after that. But sometime later, he heard that Srila Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, Krishna Prem Das Babaji Maharaj, he got hit very hard with a stick. And he was badly injured by this stick. So then again, he thought, what should I do? I should help him somehow. So then he wrote to his Guru Maharaj, and he informed him about this incident. And then, but he told, that actually, you should, his Guru Maharaj said, you should serve him with all the resources in our mat, and you should not worry about any derogatory comments he's made, and just serve him in every way. So even though Srila Bharati Maharaj was feeling, I've lost all faith and inclination to serve him, still because his Guru Maharaj said like this, he served him as best he could. So then this Babaji Maharaj, he was very pleased, and he wrote to his Guru Maharaj, and he said, I'm so pleased by this service, and now I want to offer my ashram to you in Mayapur. He had an ashram in Mayapur. He said, I want to offer that to you. So Srila Bhakti Madhav Maharaj, he dictated a letter to Maharaj, and he said, actually, we didn't serve you with any desire to acquire your ashram. It's only because you possess a deep, unflinching faith in Srila Prabhupada, and you are the object of our sincere service. So when Maharaj was writing and he was hearing these words, he said, my hand stopped writing and tears flowed from my eyes. He said, I realized the meaning of Mahaprabhu's statement to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that the servant of the Guru is always respectable to me. So he said, I've read this verse many times, but I didn't realize the true meaning until that moment. And he said, he made a really, really important point. He said, nowadays, devotees don't have so much this type of vision. He said, in fact, it's quite the opposite. He said, many devotees think that even if a devotee who served Gurudev profusely, if he's not favorable to me, then, and he doesn't support me, then what's the need for me to serve him? In fact, he's an offender and he's unworthy of being served by me. So therefore, I'm getting to the end, don't we? Therefore, with this instruction, he was, appreciating how even like god brothers, god sisters, they may be serving so much. But at the same time, they may be neglecting us. But still, we should respect them just for the simple fact that they've served Guru. They've served Guru and Vaishnavas like this. And he said we shouldn't criticize or neglect them. So I just want to finish with one very last point, that when I was in hospital after my accident, then Maharaj phoned me and I received this call from him and I was so touched. So after all I'd been through, I thought, wow, he's remembering me and supporting me. And I remember he spoke a long time on the phone to me, and because I unfortunately had taken so much medication, I couldn't remember everything, but I do remember one thing. He said that when he was serving in Shri Chaitanya Gaudiya Math and he was observing the construction there, that one time he tried to save one of the workers, and in trying to save one of the workers, he injured his back. And he had to go to hospital. So when he was in hospital, he was feeling, no, I'm not able to serve. But he felt, wow, I have so much time to read. And he said, this is all Krishna's mercy. I never got so much time to read. And he said at that time, he read the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita. So that really deeply inspired me. And I thought, wow, in every circumstance, whatever circumstance Krishna puts us in, whatever circumstance comes by the mercy of Hari Guru and Vaishnavas, then we can utilize every moment. Not that I did, but some inspiration was there. And also when I went to see him after my operation, I walked in the room, and immediately I walked in, his face shone brightly and he was smiling, and he greeted me so warmly, and he said, oh, I'm so happy to see you. He said it like that. So I thought, oh, even though I'm so insignificant and really I haven't rendered any real service to him, still he was giving me so much affection. He was so affectionate. So it's not surprising that he chose to depart on this divine disappearance day of Srila Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, as others have mentioned. One point is also that
time's up,
chanted Harinam, this is my very last point, chanted Harinam continually from early morning till late at night, all night. I think he was continually chanting Harinam without any interruption. So dear to Srila Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur, and it must be that Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur bestowed profuse blessings upon him. So with that, I end my speech, and I thank Prabhuji and Shodari Didi for giving me the opportunity. So sorry for going on. Anyway, so Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai, and Srila Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishnacharya, thank you so much. You'll probably because you're talking, you're not able to see the chat at the same time. There's so much love and affection for you from the whole Sangha. As usual, you get to the heart of the issue, which is Guru Seva. And actually, your story about Srila Bhakti Maharaj getting injured reminds me of the story of Srila Gurudev, Narayana Maharaj's injury as a result of I don't know exactly what the injury was, but apparently after he helped build, literally brick by brick, Devananda Gaudiya Math, he spent almost a year in bed. And I think that's when he read the Jaiva Dharma many, many times. And he also took advantage of being able to serve through reading, through an injury. Srimad Bhakti Vijnana Bhakti Goswami Maharaj's book, for anyone who hasn't read it yet, My Beloved Masters, really expands upon Charu's offering today. It's an entire book of all about Guru Seva. And Tapasvi Maharaj has told me many times how Maharaj served all devotees so beautifully, from the most junior to the most senior. And that was at the heart of his philosophy. That was at the heart of his actions. And that's what we can learn from this great gentleman. So thank you so much, Charu. And we're going from one Srimati to another Srimati. She is, it's often said that you can see if someone is a devotee if they're happy. And I always know that whenever I'm going to see this person, she's always going to be wearing a big smile. Definitely a happy person. She's a mother, a reading partner, a sister, a cook, a friend, and a darling daughter of Srila Gurudev. I'm very happy to present this afternoon Srimati Shamali Didi. Hari Bol, Didi.
Hari Bol.
Your name is iPhone, it says, huh?
Oh, because I stopped.
I'll have to change your name.
Yeah. Charu, that was absolutely beautiful. All of the readings of Bhakti Maharaj are just so wonderful. And I haven't really, I met him, but not in a big, towards the end, in a big congregation, but never really, I could feel his mood, but never had that close association. But it's funny because I did bring with me that book Yasoda was on about. And it is, you really get a feel of his mood in that book, and we really enjoyed reading that book. Anyway, I'd just like to ask for blessings from Guru, from the Vaishnavas, and from the devotees. I'm a bit nervous to speak. I'm not really qualified, but I feel I should share something on this on Haridas Thakur's day and Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Maharaj's disappearance day. And I'm going to speak about Haridas Thakur with regards to Harinam Chintamani and the 10 offences. And Haridas Thakur was, he glorified the Harinam in Harinam Chintamani when he was advised by Maharaja to expand on the glories of Harinam. So I'm just going to read this little bit on the one of the first pages in Harinam Chintamani because it's so beautiful. So Om Jnana Tirumandasyana Jnananjana Salakya Chaksu Annutamyana Tasme Shri Guruve Namo Namaha. May Gurudev help me, blessings, Vaishnavas, and assembled devotees. Glory to Lord Chaitanya, to Lord Gadadhar, and to Lord Nityananda, the life of Janavi Devi. Glory to Advaita, the husband of Sita. Glory to Srinivas and all the devotees of the Lord. On the shore of the saltwater ocean in Nilachar, in a beautiful temple, the Supreme Personality of Godhead descended to this world and assumed the form of a wooden deity to deliver the conditioned souls. He gives both happiness and liberation. In this holy abode, Lord Chaitanya stayed in Keshi Mishra's house to bless the human race and to teach the heart of the true religion meant for Kali Yuga. Taking his liberated devotees with him, he became like a Kalpa-vriksha tree. To everyone he taught the science of love for Lord Krishna, Krishna Prem. He happily heard the science of devotion from the mouths of many devotees, and he carefully taught the conditioned souls. One day, after bathing in the sea, Lord Chaitanya met Haridas Thakur under the Sidhu Bakul tree. Happy at heart, he earnestly asks, how may conditional souls be easily delivered? Weeping and weeping, and the hairs on his body erect and humbly grasping the Lord's feet, saintly Haridas said, Master, your pastimes are very deep. I am very poor. I have no wealth, knowledge. Your feet are my only wealth. O Master, what good result will you gain by suddenly asking this question of such an unfit person? You are the Supreme Lord Krishna. To deliver the conditioned souls, you have descended to Navadvip. Please be merciful. Please be kind. O Lord Gora, please protect me. Please make my heart blossom with happiness. Your names have no end. Your transcendental qualities have no end. Your form is the ocean of bliss. Your pastimes have no end. Please be merciful and allow this sinner to relish the sweetness in them. You are the spiritual sun. I am a single ray of your sunlight. You are the master. I am your eternal servant. The nectar of your feet is my wealth of pleasure. My desire rests on the nectar of your holy name. O Master, I am fallen. How will I say what I say? Still, I must obey your command. The words you place in my mouth, I will happily speak. I will not try to judge their virtues or faults. And thereafter took the Harinam Chintamani, where Haridas Thakur was glorifying and expanding on how Harinam in this age of Kali Yuga is the only way of deliverance. And I'm going to touch upon the 10 offences which can become impediments to one's chanting and achieving bhakti. So the first offence is to blaspheme the devotees, and it's like Gurudev said, you know, be aware of the 3 C's. No, do not criticize, do not complain, and to chant. Especially Mahabhagavat to a great devotee to offer any criticism or offend is a great aparad. The second offense is to consider the demigods equal or independent from Lord Krishna. So it's like putting Lord Shiva on the same platform as Krishna or Mahaprabhu. Third one is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master and think him an ordinary man. The fourth one, to find fault with the Vedas, honoring instructions of the Shrutis over the holy name. Fifth one, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be exaggerated. Sixth, to consider Bhagwan's name to be imaginary. This is like the Mayavadis do. They use Krishna till they get to where they got to go, and then Krishna is no longer needed. 7, to commit sins and material activities against the strength of the holy name. And this is different from like someone having a weakness of heart. To actually use the holy name to commit sin is a great aparad. Number 8, to consider religiosity, renunciation, fire sacrifice, and pious activities equal or comparable with the transcendental names of Bhagavan. Number 9, to instruct the glories of the holy name to a faithless person, because they may themselves cause offense. If they have no faith, you know, you could get them deeper and deeper water because they might say something against it. Number 10, for a person that knows the glories of the holy name but still is attached to I am I with no persistence or love for name commits nam aparad. Now, why have I brought the 10 offences up? Because, and this is where my reflections are coming into this. Since lockdown, it's brought a lot of stuff to the surface. Stuff in the world, a lot of truths are coming out. Within our own Sangha, there's stuff coming to the surface, and also in my own life. And my first realization during the whole lockdown process was seeing the suffering of people, you know, like old people in homes. There's so much suffering, and even in myself, you couldn't escape anymore and go for a coffee to a cafe or go for a pizza or any of the things you did. And it was such a dense energy, and it made me really realize I have to go more deeply internal. Plus, I was so missing association, and I mean the humankind. Even though I love this Zoom calling, I do miss proper interaction, and I particularly miss the Gangas. And I became aware that even the Gangas coming back may not even be in that same mood. So I had to go deeper and really realize that I have to do this. I cannot rely on anything. I have to do this. I have to want it, to do it. And so I took myself away because I couldn't do it in London. So I came away to Glastonbury to spend a couple of months here. Now, this is where I've confronted and tried not to make any offenses to the holy name. The first thing I want to say is going back to what Bhagavat Maharaja was saying yesterday about sectarianism, and we just have to close our eyes to it because it's like the forest fire, and it won't be there when we open our eyes. I got the pleasure or the honor of staying in a devotee's house, renting by fluke a devotee's house, who happens to be who was initiated by Gurudev but now follows Babaji. That's fine, but obviously there was conflict in my mind when we were discussing it, and I was very aware that I did not want to create no offences, but things weren't sitting with me very comfortably, and then just different moods. We went out on Harinam, and I was a bit perplexed. But anyway, then I got this thing come through on my phone, as you do get little sayings on WhatsApp, and this is what it said. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing mantra, observing regulative principles. Moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard in time, place, person, paraphernalia. But when the Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. And in that moment, that last sentence, it kind of just made me go, do you know what? I'm just such a simple person. Just they're chanting Hare Krishna. You're going on Harinam. They're spreading the Harinam. Doesn't matter. And it really just every time I come to conflict, I just think because Glastonbury is a big melting pot of many flavors of goddess worship, demigod worship, Krishna worship, Radha worship, different moods, and you can get lost in it a little bit. But I have to remember that chanting Krishna's name is faultless, and from where I'm coming, it is literally I have to close my eyes and not become sectarian with it all. So that was my first, because that would be an offense to you don't know, you could be making Vaishnava a devotee offense, and that is where one of the offenses come in. Also, it made me realize I have to be very strong in faith with Guru and Sadhu Sangha. The people here in Glastonbury are so sweet natured that you can easily get pulled in to whatever association you're around. So you do need to have that strong sadhana. So that is great. I've been doing my chanting and my reading, but also these lovely discourses are keeping me fulfilled. Bhakti Vinod Thakur said in Bhakti Tattva Vivek that people that are of atheist or sense gratification, they're not our main problem. We're not looking for, we're not going down that path, so we're all right. But people that have taken bhakti but not under proper guidance is where it becomes dangerous. So it's always important to have strong faith and strong sadhu sangha. And I think, as I said already, that there's so many different moods and flavors in Glastonbury. If you're not one-pointed in yourself and your own where you're going and your own path with, and also having sadhu sangha, it's very, you could, if I stayed here long enough, who knows what would happen. The other thing is, the other offense I was reflecting on is to consider the demigods equal or independent from Krishna. So again, there is a lot of lovely chanting of Om Namo Shivaya with Hare Krishna, and it's all very beautiful, but it would be lovely if they actually said that Krishna is topmost and these are his great devotees, because I think a lot of people maybe they're not creating offences because they don't know any better, but they do put everything into the large pot and have this all is one, it's all love, it's all beautiful energy. So that was something to reflect on. The lady I'm staying with, she's beautiful, she's absolutely lovely, and she loves the mood of Radharani Bhav and all that, and she doesn't feel that you need too much rules and regulations. But for me, I am so grateful that I've had the chance, because I think to improve, we do need the books like Manashiksha, Upadeshamrita, and Sadhu Sangha under guidance, even Harinam Chintamani, and we've read all these books in our reading groups, and they really are a great foundation, because it's great. You can maybe they're happy with that mood of talking about Radharani and everything, but it's not gonna get them off that bodily platform ultimately. So the work has to be done, and so I'm happy for having that Sadhu Sangha association and being aware of the offences and not to create any offences to Vaishnava Aparad, or hopefully, probably. Anyway, thank you for hearing me. That's just my reflection on Harinam Chintamani and Haridas Thakur. Radhe Radhe. Thank you.
Shamini, that was a beautiful offering. Thank you so much. Lots of really great insights there, and thank you for going through the 10 offences. They actually, for a long time, they really troubled me, because I thought, well, what's the point of chanting the holy name if all I'm going to do is make offences? So if I don't chant the holy name, I won't make any offences. It can't. I was going through that cycle. So I think it was Chidani Maharaj, or maybe it was someone else. Maybe it was Kishore Mahan said, well, the 11th offence, and I think one of the acharyas has said that, is not to chant the holy name. So actually, it's okay. And it's really good, actually, to remind oneself of those offences, because when we chant, the more we can be attentive to our chanting, the better. So thank you very, very much, Shamini. That was very insightful and helpful to be reminded. Our next speaker, we've got 2 more speakers. Our next speaker, I've actually lived with him, so he must be a very, very tolerant human being. Put up with me. He offers a lot of seva without needing to be the center of attention at all. He's very much, he'll really offer seva without needing, confirmation or affirmation. He's a very beautiful sevak. He's got a very sharp mind, and he's also endowed with a very sweet heart. I have no idea what he's going to be doing next, whether it's going to be a poem, a one-man play, or some some other kind of offering. So I'm excited to hear the offering from Shriman Balabhadra Prabhu. Haribol Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
Dandavat. Dandavat.
So I'll start by offering my obeisances. Tasmai Shri Hrive Namaha. Panchakalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Bhakti Tanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Pataya Rakikaya Priyatmane Shishimad Bhaktivedanta Narayani Tamane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Kamala Govinda Goswami Nityanamane. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Nityanamane. So before speaking, I would like to offer my humble Dandavat pranams, as much as I can muster, to our beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. Similarly to our beloved Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Gangamatas Goswami Maharaj, whose disappearance date is today. So the Sannyasigan we have with us here today, who I feel completely unqualified to speak in front of. I noticed there's actually 69 people in the chat. There was 80 earlier. So these are very, very beautiful gatherings with so many different Vaishnavas here. And I please accept my Dandavat pranams to everybody, Vaishnavas past, present, and future. So I'm going to start by singing Chaitanya, and then I'm going to share a screen of a little presentation I've done. Chaitanya Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairita Chandrika Vitaranam Vidya Vidu Jivanam Anandam Bodhivardhanam Patiputam. Excuse me. Purnamita Svadanam Sarvatmam Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Harinam 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 Eva Kevalam Harinasti Harinasti Vivikate Anyata. So let there be supreme victory for the chanting of the holy name of Sri Krishna alone, which cleanses the mirror of the heart and completely extinguishes the blazing forest fire of material existence. Sri Krishna Sankirtan diffuses the soothing moon rays of Bhav, which causes the white lotus of good fortune to bloom. The holy name is the life and soul of transcendental knowledge, which is here compared to a wife, or actually in some other translations it's expressed as a bride. It continuously expands the ocean of transcendental bliss, enabling one to taste the complete nectar at every step. The holy name of Sri Krishna thoroughly cleanses and cools the self, one's nature and determination, as well as the body, both internal and external. And Harinam Harinam Kevalam is that in this age of Kali Yuga, there is no other means for deliverance than chanting of the holy name of Hari. So this is repeated 3 times for importance, to make sure that that us conditioned souls, at least like me, who are very thick-headed, can understand that it's a very important message. So I'm going to share my screen now. It's a little video presentation of a compilation of different artwork of Sri Namacharya Srila Haridasa Thakur. And then after that, I'll make a short offering. So please let me know if this is actually working or not, because it can sometimes be a little awkward. 1 second. So, can everybody see this okay? Can I have?
Yes.
You can see that? Okay, perfect. Here we go.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare
Hare Krishna, Dhanavad. So that was a collection of different arts from different people around the world. Some of it was from Srimati Shamarani and others is from different devotees. So I just want to express appreciation to any artist's work who I shared today. And I hope that that can be used as an offering to both of them, because service to the Vaishnavas is more important than service to Krishna himself. In fact, service to the Vaishnavas is sometimes even considered higher than service to Shri Guru, because Shri Guru is pleased by people who are serving those who are dear to him. And so I want to resonate that mood that was shared earlier by different speakers. So I heard lots of different stories today and so many beautiful offerings, and the mood has been very much expressing glorification of Srila Bhakti Bharati Goswami Maharaj. And I feel drawn to speaking about that rather than expressing something about Srila Haridas Thakur, because I was actually going to speak the pastime of Haridas Thakur and Mahamaya, but our dear Sripad Chidani Maharaj has expressed that pastime. So we could see the different pastimes there. We had the Chandkazi pastime, we had Haridas Thakur with a snake, who the snake actually left the cave because Haridas Thakur was so pure in his chanting. Also, I'm just remembering a pastime of Haridas Thakur dancing in front of a snake charmer, and then somebody else trying to imitate him being beaten with a stick because he was trying to imitate the mood of the deep mood of Srila Haridas Thakur, which is beyond anything that I can imagine touching in this life or any future life, except by the mercy of Shri Guru and the Vaishnavas. So Srila Bhakti Bharati Goswami Maharaj is somebody that I had somehow or another, by his mercy, the great fortune to meet during his manifest pastimes. And there are lots of different things that he taught us by his example. Many of the things have been covered today. But there's a few stories I want to share that are actually in relation to another very beautiful Vaishnavi, Srimati Shamarani Devi. Just to express how close in mood Srila Bhakti Bharati Goswami Maharaj was in relation to our Srila Gurudev. So one time in, where was it? It was actually in Srila Bhakti Vallabh Goswami Maharaj's mat in Mayapur. I approached Srimati Shamarani Devi and I told her about some things that were happening in relation to how some Vaishnavas were expressing their understanding of Srila Bharati Maharaj. So at that time, people were saying that he had a different mood to Srila Gurudev. Some people were saying that, some people were saying that if you listen to him, you'll lose everything that Srila Gurudev has given us. Some people were saying we should never hear from him. And so I became very quite disturbed about this, because I had actually been hearing from him. And I had felt myself being very nourished by his Harikatha and his sweet mood. Not that I understood anything, but I felt that it was like listening to Srila Gurudev. So I approached Shamarani Devi and I told her this, and she became like fire. And she said, how is people speaking this? Do they know his mood? And what is his mood? So what are they speaking? And then she started to express a very beautiful pastime that was Srila Bharati Maharaj's favorite pastime of Paitagram, excuse my pronunciation, where Krishna had actually left the Ras Leela and taken on, further down the road, a four-armed form of Vishnu, and that the all the groups of the gopis had gone and were looking for Krishna, and then one group of gopis had gone ahead and had asked and addressed him as Vishnu. Please, can you show us where our beloved has gone? We need to find Krishna. And then Vishnu pointed them in one direction and said, "Oh, he's gone over here somewhere." And then that sort of gopis, they moved away. And then shortly after, Shrimati Radharani and her group started to come towards this personality, who is Krishna himself manifesting the form of Vishnu, who are non-different, Bhagavat Tattva, Vishnu Tattva. Krishna is Avatari, the source of all incarnations, so he can assume any of his incarnations forms at any time. And it said that just the fragrance of Radharani's scent, her bodily perfume coming towards Krishna in the form of Vishnu, caused two of his arms to come back into his body, and he immediately assumed his Tribangalalit form, which is his most beautiful form, which he only manifests in the association of Srimati Radharani. And so the teaching that Srila Bharati Maharaj was given here was that unless we're under the guidance of those who are following Srimati Radharani, namely under the guidance of Lalita Sakhi and furthermore Shri Rupa Manjari, that Krishna won't reveal himself to us in his most beautiful form. So this is a very sweet pastime, and to hear that from Srimati Shamarani expressing that mood that Srila Bharati Maharaj is very much in line with our Srila Gurudev is wonderful. Another situation that happened again with Shamarani Didi was that she had heard that I was saying that Srila Bharati Maharaj was preaching that the Swarupa of the Jiva can be changed and was given you're given the Swarup by your Guru, and that it does not manifest eternally in the heart. And so I hadn't actually been saying it, but I was actually just asking questions about it because I had heard that that's what was being said. So Shamarani Didi challenged me in the room, and she said, any guru who says that the Swarup can change is bogus. And I was like, well, that's really heavy. And she said, why are you saying Srila Bharati Maharaj is saying this? And I said, no, I'm not. I'm trying to find out what's happening. Please forgive me. And she made very, very clear that Srila Bharati Maharaj is very much in line with Gurudev on this Siddhanta as well. And here is a quote there's a few different quotes in this book, Swarupa of the Jiva. And one of the quotes here is, he was asked the question, we have an original relationship with Krishna, meaning an original Swarup. Is it already there, or is it given by Guru? Srila Bhakti Gangamatas Swami's answer was, no. The specific relationship is there from the beginning of your life, meaning your creation, manifestation, where we came from. So it's always been there. And the Guru only clears Sambandha. It means he establishes that relationship that already exists. Without the grace of Krishna, having a dormant eternal relationship with him, we cannot live. Meaning if we don't have this relationship existing with us within our heart already, we actually don't have any existence. It's kind of Mayavadi, actually, in a sense. So we become like dead. But your Swarup, Maharaj is saying, was in a dormant state, and it was opened, revealed, nourished by Guru, opened by Vaishnava. So we hear Srila Gurudev expressing very much a similar thing, the same, similar in a sense, the analogy is similar, but the teaching is the same. That Sri Guru provides the nourishment, the soil, the water, the right environment to enable this dormant seed that's already there to grow. And one other beautiful pastime, again, was when Shamarani Didi herself first met Srila Bharati Maharaj. She went there by Vasanti Didi's encouragement, actually. She's so humble. She's taking like encouragement and guidance from those who are her junior. But she followed this and she went there. And when she went, she said that she was astonished to see so many senior Vaishnavas there taking shelter of this exalted personality. And she's so direct, and I can really relate to that mood of direct speaking. She said to Srila Maharaj, she said, I have faith that you're a Mahabhagavat, but I don't feel attracted to you personally. And Srila Bharati Maharaj's response was astonishing. He said, no matter you're attracted to me, no harm, it doesn't matter. Guru Tattva is one. That was his answer. And from that day on, Srimati Shamrani took shelter of him and didn't go anywhere else, and accepted him completely as her Siksha Guru, in line with Srila Gurudev and his teachings. So if anybody had any doubt whatsoever in their mind or in their heart that Srila Bharati Maharaj and Srila Gurudev are non-different Guru Tattva, then these personal experiences, because I actually, other than the one where I wasn't with Shamrani Didi when she met Srila Bharati Maharaj, and I really wish I had been, but outside of that, I was thinking how everybody who shared today was sharing from something that was very, very personal. It was an experience they had themselves, and then they shared that outside of the stories of expressing the acharyas and their teachings. So, and it made me realize, well, it made me understand to a deeper extent that when the Vaishnavas, who are exalted in their practices and their sadhana and bhajan, and their line is very long, like Pujapad Siddhanti Maharaj is explaining how one very long line can make the smaller line become minimized, and therefore the proper sadhana teachings will take prominence over anything that isn't expressed or followed properly. That their line is extremely long and my line is extremely short. And so when they're talking from their expressing about the acharyas and their histories, they're actually not speaking from, like, I'm speaking from a book or I'm reading from something that I'm remembering that I've been told. They're speaking from direct personal relationship. They actually know these personalities. They have a relationship with them. So when they speak, and when elevated Vaishnavas speak, it comes across as very personal because they personally know them. And this indicates to us that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead because he has a personality and he's personal. And so our relationships with each other have to be based on a personal connection. And that's very difficult when we don't know who we are. So to be under the guidance of these personalities is incredibly fortunate. And to have just simply met Srila Bhakti Bharati Maharaj and his beloved godbrother Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, I've seen them together. I wasn't present when Srila Gurudev was present with Srila Bhakti Vedanta Varman Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Vedanta Trivikram Maharaj to see them all together on the stage. But when I saw Srila Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj and Srila Bhakti Bharati Maharaj together, it made me think that was something that would have been very similar to that, and it brought a lot of pleasure and joy to my heart to see that very beautiful experience and be present for that. So please excuse me for taking up more time than I should have done, but I really appreciate everybody's offerings. It's so beautiful. I really appreciate the chance to be able to speak here so I can purify my mind and my heart and my tongue to be able to try to be personal with these personalities and connect and have a beautiful relationship with them. Patitanam Bhavanabhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Balabhadra Haribol, thank you so much. Always expect the unexpected. So in that way, that was expected, the unexpected. A beautiful mix, a very eclectic, diverse mix of offerings, Prabhu. It was both diverse, artistic, creative, heartfelt, that really came through, and also in parts quite grave. So really appreciated. We now move on to our final speaker, speaking from Alachua in Florida. Yesterday, his offering really astounded us. It really knocked the ball out of the park for 6 or 8 or 10, whatever game you play. It was like a nuclear bomb, but instead of being incinerated, we were showered with rose petals. So put your seat belts on, hold on to your seat, or hold on to your seats. I'm going to hand over to our beloved Sripad Bhaktivedanta Bhagavat Maharaj. Haribol Maharaj, welcome.
Pranams to everyone. Please forgive me. It's early. It's 10 a.m. now, but I woke up a little late this morning, so I've only been able to hear Shamali and Balabadra's offerings. I haven't heard anyone else's offerings, and I apologize for that. I'm getting my body together in the morning, and it's hard sometimes. I apologize. Please forgive me. So first, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sisi Mad Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sisi Mad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Satara Sata Sisi Mad Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharti Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, my Dandavat pranams. Svanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. So I just want to say out loud to Balabhadra that I just love the vintage kirtan of Prabhupada playing that harmonium and singing, and it went so well with the paintings that you showed. It was beautiful, absolutely. Thank you so much for doing that. So I wanted to say a few different things about Haridas Thakur, Srila Bharti Maharaj. In my ruminating on the activities and pastimes of Srila Haridas Thakur, some unique things have come up in my meditations on his pastimes. And one of them is the poem that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote glorifying Srila Haridas Thakur. And in it, that famous line, he reasons ill who say that Vaishnavas die when living still and sound. The Vaishnavas die to live and live to spread the holy name around. So in reciting a poem, there's whole university courses just dedicated to understanding what is the intention of the author when they write the different poems that they write. And so understanding the intention of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's writing this particular lines, this quatrain is only part of a much larger poem that he wrote in honor of Haridas Thakur. But this quatrain is very, very deep. And he's saying something very, very powerful here about transcendental sound vibration. And it is often used by devotees in different groups to say that the transcendental sound vibration of the holy name or the lecture of the guru is there in the tape recorder. But the question is, was that Bhaktivinoda Thakur's intention? When he was writing You're Living Still and Sound, what was his intention? So, first of all, he wrote the poem in 1871. And it wasn't until 6 years later that Thomas Alva Edison wrote the, Thomas Alva Edison made the tape recording machine, the gramophone, which recorded voices. Before that, there was no voice recording machine. It wasn't until 1877 that it was created. So it could not have been Bhaktivinoda Thakur's intention that the transcendental sound vibration was being carried by a machine. Secondly, at the time when Srila Haridas Thakur appeared, the transcendental sound vibration could not have been recorded on any kind of instrument. So therefore, we understand quite clearly, if we look at the real intention of the author of the poem, that he was making the point that the transcendental sound vibration of Srila Haridas Thakur is carried on by the Guru Parampara, by the transcendental sound vibration emanating from the mouth, the lotus lips of the pure devotees. This is where this transcendental, this is how he's living still in sound. Hearing the beautiful pastimes of Haridas Thakur and his teachings from Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Maharaj. His presence is there, his presence is felt. His instructions are again being transmitted by the living Bhagavat. This is the real meaning of this poem. I've written a very extensive explanation of all of this, which time forbids for me to give that explanation. And there are other things that I want to go on to. But I wanted to share that insight that I had, that realization. Secondly, I wanted to share one realization I had about Srila Haridas Thakur's suffering under the Muslim mullahs, how he was beaten in 22 marketplaces, and what was his mood. And this is a very, very important mood. We learn from the pastimes of the Avanti poor Brahmin in the Bhagavatam how a person is supposed to tolerate abuse. And here we see in Srila Haridas Thakur's pastimes, the most vile abuse was rained upon him by people who were very, very sinful and offensive. And Srila Haridas Thakur, after being beaten in 22 marketplaces, the two people who were beating him said, Haridas Thakur, if you don't die, then we're going to be punished by the Khan. So he said, oh, I don't want that. I don't want you should be punished by the Khan. You want me to die? I can die. And then he fell over and appeared to expire. Of course, what he did was go into samadhi. So what happened was, later on, when he comes out of the river and sees Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's talking with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the discussion with him, says that I kept wanting to come there and stop them from beating you. And Haridas Thakur doesn't respond to that. He said, oh, the reason I didn't come, Mahaprabhu says, the reason I didn't come was because you kept praying to me that I should forgive them and not give them any reaction. So because you were praying like that, I couldn't come. I couldn't come and stop them. So then Mahaprabhu turns and he shows his back to Haridas Thakur. He said, so therefore I took the beating upon my own back. So this mood, this reflects a similar mood to Lord Jesus Christ. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. This is the highest level. You know, in the mode of ignorance, when someone offends us, we want vengeance. You know, in the pastime of the Rishi, who goes, Bhrigu Rishi, when he goes to visit Lord Shiva, and he insults him by his thoughts, by his inaction in offering respect, then Lord Shiva wants to kill him. So this is the mode of ignorance. In the mode of ignorance, there is a desire for vengeance. When someone offends us with his words, when Bhrigu Rishi offended Lord Brahma with his words, Lord Brahma became angry and scolded him. So the response in the mode of passion is anger. And when he goes and he puts his foot on Lord Vishnu's chest, the response in the mode of goodness is, oh, please forgive me. I hope that I have not hurt your lotus foot with my hard chest. So each mode of nature teaches us something about how to respond, how we respond when we're responding to insults, when we're responding to any offense committed toward us, or a apparent offense that we think we're being offended. And we can tell how much we're making progress by understanding how we respond. The ultimate response, of course, is Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur's response is, Father, forgive them because they know not what they do. Please do not punish them and do not give them any reaction for their actions. This is the highest level of realization, a very transcendental, powerful vision, one that I personally am very, very far away from, but at least the process begins by recognizing it. You recognize your shortcomings in that area. And then you look at, okay, when I've been abused in the past, I've responded in Tamagun or Rajagun or even Sattvagun, but how can I respond on the transcendental platform? How can I respond in such a way that I'm actually a well-wishing friend toward my abuser? This is the goal. And so we learn this from Srila Haridas Thakur's pastimes. And we see it also when he was criticized, when he was explaining the glories of the holy name, how even the dim reflection of the holy name can give you, Namabas can give you liberation. And that Brahmin, Gopal Chapo, he criticized him and said, your nose should fall off if that happens. And then his very beautiful face with a very beautiful nose fell off. And he lost his nose due to leprosy. And where did he go? He went to Aparada Banjan to pray for purification. So Mahaprabhu forgave him and restored him to his original karmic, beautiful form. But now he was in a different mood, a mood of great humility. And we see that Lord Brahma comes as Haridas Thakur, and Srila Bhakti Maharaj gives us an insight into why this happens, because Lord Brahma realizes that he's committed a great aparad to Krishna by doubting. Now, who's this little boy holding prasadam holding food in his left hand and eating off the plates of these other boys and then feeding food from his plate to these boys? Who is this? This can't be Bhagavan. This can't be the person who recited the Gayatri mantra into my ear. It's not possible. So he was not able to recognize who Krishna was. And he committed some offense. And he saw that as a lack of humility on his part. So he went to Antardweep and he prayed that you please forgive me and give me a birth in which I can be humble. And so he gets this birth as Haridas Thakur, in which he's a Muslim, an outcast, a Malecha, and a Yavana. And his position is such, but at the same time, because he's a reciter of the holy name of the Lord, he's respected by all the devotees. Even Advaita Acharya, who was a very famous, powerful, and influential Acharya in Navadvip, offered the Shraddha Patra to him, the plate of honor at the Shraddha ceremony. And at first, the Brahmins left, considering that this was a mistake. But then they recognized, if Advaita Acharya has done this, there must be a reason. And they went back and then they took prasadam and they mitigated their offense by honoring prasadam with Haridas Thakur. So again, in every case, we see Haridas Thakur is always the emblem of humility. And Lord Brahma asked for this birth to show us in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes what the emblem of humility is, so that we would understand, as we were talking about yesterday, Trinada Pisa Nuchena Taroda Pisa Hishnuna, that this is the most important thing in order to make progress in our spiritual life, to be able to accept the abuse that the Shantipur Brahmin accepted, that Haridas Thakur accepted. To accept this abuse, this is the mood that we have to have. A mood that I feel very far away from most of the time. But at least if I can recognize what the mood is, and maybe I have some hope of achieving it at some point, if not in this life, in the future life. And then I wanted to say a few words about Srila Bharti Maharaj, his glories. I've known Srila Bharti Maharaj since I was about 26, 27 years old. I used to go to the temple in Puri. He would go there in Jagannath Puri to help build. He was the one who was appointed by his guru, Srila Bhakti Daitya Madhav Maharaj, who I knew personally, to build all the temples for the Sri Chaitanya Society that Srila Madhav Maharaj had created. And so he would send him. He built the temple in Puri, he built the temple in Chandigarh, he built all the different temples for his Guru Maharaj all over India. And for this, he received so much mercy from his Gurudev by accomplishing all these very powerful services. But Srila Bharti Maharaj was also the servant of many of the other disciples of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur. When there was a court case that had to be conducted in Navadvip, and Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was fighting against Tirtha Maharaj to get control of the Mat, the Sri Chaitanya Mat, where the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya is. There was a need for someone to write out the arguments that Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj was making in the case. And Srila Bharti Maharaj was highly educated and had beautiful handwriting. And so he was the one who took all the notations of all the statements of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj to present to the court. And they lost the court case, but Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj emphasized in his arguments that all of the fruit plantations and vegetable gardens and other things that he had developed under the guidance of Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada should remain, that they shouldn't be removed, because they were planning to remove all of them to put buildings on them. And so what happened was, they said, Tirtha Maharaj and his group in the court said that they would not in any future time take down the fruit trees or the vegetable gardens that were developed by Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj. And so, making that concession, they ended up winning the case. But Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj told Srila Bharti Maharaj, I have won the case, because I knew that I wouldn't get the building back, but I knew what I wanted was that they shouldn't destroy all the work and service that I had done for Srila Prabhupada. And so now they have written that they will never take down these fruit orchards and vegetable gardens and other things. And so now I have evidence in the future, if they ever try to take it down, I can go to court and I can stop them from taking it down. So technically I won what I wanted to win, was I was able to keep Prabhupada's property in order. And all of these arguments were written out by Srila Bharti Maharaj. He had extensive association with the disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada. On a personal note, I had some very intimate relations with him and personal instructions from him. He one day came up to me in the room when everyone had left the room, and he walked right up to me and he looked me in the eye and he said, so, will the Father ever allow the Son to put his hand in the fire? I said, no, of course he will not allow him. Supposing the child is crying and stamping his feet and demanding, I want to put my hand in the fire, will the Father allow? I said, no, the Father would never allow that. And he said, so remember, once you've surrendered to Krishna, he won't allow you to leave, ever. Even if you cry and stamp your feet and you want to go, he won't allow it. And I thought, wow, this is, such a beautiful, powerful statement that he made to me. And then there was some controversy a few years ago when I was in India with him about the initiation of one devotee, one of my godbrothers, who had committed some child abuse in his youth, and he wanted to take sannyas. And so he was asking Srila Bharti Maharaj to give him sannyas. And Srila Bharti Maharaj was receiving so many arguments for and against his taking sannyas from so many different devotees. So when I went to visit him that day, he called me over next to his bed. And I kneeled down next to his bed. And he said, I need to ask your opinion. I said, okay, Maharaj, whatever you want. He said, do you know Sri Galim? I said, yes, I know him. I'm sorry, I mentioned his name. I didn't want to do that. I apologize. Forgive me. Do you know this devotee? I said, yes, I know him, Maharaj. He said, do you suggest So many people are coming here and asking, should he take sannyas? Should he not take sannyas? Some people are telling me to give him sannyas. Some people are telling him, don't give him sannyas. I don't know what to do, he said. I don't know what to do, mainly because I don't know any of these people. They're all coming and complaining to me that please give him, don't give him, and I don't know them. He said, but I know you. I know you for 40 years. If you tell me to give him sannyas, I'll give him sannyas. And if you tell me not to give him sannyas, I won't. This is the kind of relationship we have. And so I told him, I said, Maharaj, it will not be in your best interest as a view of the people and the public for you to give sannyas to this man. Don't give him sannyas. So I was brought in very close to him, which was very, very gratifying for me that I had that kind of intimate relationship with him. He was so kind to me and so nourishing. And I remember going to hear him and asking him questions. At that time, Charu Chandrika was there. And I found it very, very interesting how he would answer the questions. He didn't explain things the way Srila Prabhupada explained things, which was like direct in a linear fashion. He would start out answering a question, and then about part of the way along, as he was answering the question, he said, and so there's this story. And then he would go explaining this story, and I'm thinking, what does this story have to do with my question? And then in the middle of the story, he would say, and that leads me to another story. And then he would start with another story. And I'm still bewildered at this point. What does this story have to do with the question? But I'm listening. And then at the end, he said, so therefore, and then he goes back to the beginning of what he was talking about before the two stories, and he ties up the whole thing, all the two stories, what he said in the beginning, and he comes out with a conclusion and an answer. I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anyone explain things like this. You know, it was very oriental in its nature. He was not in a direct linear he didn't explain things in a direct linear manner. He had a way of going through things in a circular manner, which was so brilliant and so wonderful. And so Srila Bhakti Maharaj was this very special personality. One of the things that he emphasized over and over again was the glorification of the Vaishnavas on their appearance and disappearance day. I've taken that to heart on my Facebook page on all the appearance and disappearance days. I post what he spoke from his book or from his lectures, and I post it up on the my Facebook page, and I tell the devotees the pastimes. He's telling the pastimes. I just make it available. I've taken that responsibility, and a lot of the devotees appreciate it very, very much. So, you know, we're very fortunate to have the association of all these great sadhus. There's so much for us to learn from Srila Haridas Thakur's teachings, from Srila Bharti Maharaj's teachings, from their persona and from their actions and their nature. So beautiful. And so I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of Srila Haridas Thakur, and I offer my humble obeisances at the lotus feet of my Shiksha Guru, Srila Bhakti Vijnana Bharti Goswami Maharaj, and I offer my obeisances at the feet of all the Vaishnavas very patiently heard whatever I had to say this afternoon in London, about these great personalities. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubayavacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just to clarify something, you said that when Haridas Thakur was being beaten in the 22 marketplaces and asking Mahaprabhu to forgive them and give them no reactions, one of the speakers earlier said that they did get reactions. So I just wanted to clarify.
He did get a reaction, but it was his mood.
Okay.
In other words, his mood was this. That's not, yes, it's true that they did get a reaction. Srila Gurudev makes the point that they did get a reaction, even though, the situation was like that. Srila Gurudev makes that point. But that point is irrelevant to his mood.
Right.
His mood was, don't do this. The mood is what we're looking for. The mood is everything. And so...
Yeah. No, it was beautiful, Maharaj, because from the previous offerings, actually, that was one of my, you answered one of my questions. I'm sure it was in other devotees' minds. What was the deeper instruction that was coming through Haridas Thakur's core pastime, and you explained that really beautifully. And actually, over the 2 days, yesterday and today, the theme of your offerings has been all about humility, and that's come through loud and clear.
That's because I'm lacking humility, so I'm.
me too. So I'm picking up on this, and Srila Gurudev demonstrated the same humility. I mean, okay, he wasn't beaten physically, but people beat him psychologically, or through slandering him, or through stopping him from going to temples, and he was always so incredibly magnanimous. It also reminds me of a story. It's a mundane story, but it's spiritually uplifting, where in the SS guards in Auschwitz, there was an inmate in Auschwitz, and to begin with, she hated the SS guards because they were beastly to her.
Yeah.
But then during the first week, she realized she had compassion for them, because she realized they must be suffering even more to be perpetrating those thoughts and crimes. They must be actually suffering more than she is. And she said that's what helped her survive, both physically and emotionally and spiritually, that compassion. And I feel that from what you're saying, this idea, this essence of humility, we can't really generate it. We can't really make ourselves humble. All we can do is, when we do bhajan, is beg at the lotus feet of our guru and parampara to help us be humble. That's all we can do. And hopefully that mercy will make us humble, right?
Absolutely. We beg for that. The way Brahma Haridas, Lord Brahma, prayed to Gauranga that I don't want to be so arrogant that I think that I misunderstood who you were. This little baby Krishna with the food in his left hand. I don't want to mistake that. So he prayed to Gauranga Mahaprabhu that please give me a birth which will help me to become humble. And then he did. He got the birth of Haridas Thakur, which allowed him to have that humility. This was a teaching of Srila Bhakti Maharaj.
So thank you so much, Maharaj. It's beautiful. We're so happy. This is no longer this is not a British Sangha. It's not an American Sangha. It's a beautiful worldwide Sangha. And we're just lucky that we're only 5 time zones away, so that we can get the benefit of your Katha. So we've now reached, other than Kirtan, we've reached the end of 4 glorifications. It's been incredible. The glorification of Radharani, the glorification of Jiva Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Maharaj, Haridas Thakur, Vamandev. It's been extraordinary 4 days and 15 hours of Shravan and 15 hours of Kirtan. I think the Vaishnavas, the Acharyas, Parampara will be very pleased that we've come together in this way. And I wanted to thank all the speakers, amazing speakers, like really well beyond my expectations in terms of the multiple offerings. The listening has been fantastic, the participation. Thank you for everybody who's organized this. Yashadari, the inspiration behind it, Radhika Didi, Ramananda. Thank you to everybody who's organized the plays, Radhika Didi, Balabhadra Prabhu. And there's more Bhakti Zoom to come. And I'm going to hand over to Yashodhari to close out. And then there'll be Kirtan. And I'm going to be very sad not to have your association tomorrow. Haribol, Radhe.
Thank you, Yashodananda Prabhu. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. So sorry about my connection, and my laptop's still on, but it's frozen, and because I'm recording live on Facebook, I just didn't want to switch it off just in case people that were watching weren't able to actually see it. But I did want to firstly say that over the last 3 days in particular, I've become this Harikatha has become more and more dense, and it's become very deep for me. And when I hear the glorifications of Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj and listening to his disappearance, like, celebrating his disappearance day, it reminds me of Srila Gurudev, and I feel very my heart hurts when I hear these glorifications, not in a bad way, but it just reminds me of Srila Gurudev. And they say that the Vaishnavas and Guru are non-different from each other, and I believe that because I see that in Srila Gurudev, and I see that in Srila Bharati Maharaji. So I just want to say a special thanks to everyone that has spoken, everyone that has listened. Srila Gurudev used to say that listening is as important as speaking, because that is a big seva for all of us. So thank you for everyone that has sat and listened to this beautiful Harikatha that has been spoken. Thank you to the people that have helped organize these festivals. But I do want to just say that I will also want to apologize for many mistakes I've made along this Zoom festival. It actually only started, funnily, this Zoom kind of programs only started with 3 people, and that was myself, Pundarik Kaksha Prabhu, and Ramananda Prabhu, and it's just manifested into this big, enormous and beautiful worldwide Sangha Zoom. And so I'm learning, and I am just wanting to ask all the Vaishnavas, all my god brothers and sisters, my uncles, my aunties, and my Srila Gurudev to please forgive me for really any offenses that I am causing or hurting anyone in any way. I'm just trying my best to serve Srila Gurudev and the Vaishnavas, and that's all I aim to do, and I have no other intentions but to satisfy you all. So please forgive me for that, and thank you for being tolerant with me. So I'm just going to stop speaking now, because otherwise I'll go on forever and I'll start crying. So I'll just hand over to Srimati Radhika Didi to end our Bhakti Zoom festival now, if that's okay. Radhika Didi.
Yes, sorry, I was distracted reading all the messages from all the participants. So many of you are expressing your gratitude to Yashodhari Didi, to Yashodananda Prabhu, and Yashodhari, just like you're an example for us all, just an example of Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Sastra Koi, Lava Matra, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Hoy, Lava Matra, just one moment's association is all we need. And you're inspiring for me, that to remanifest Gurudev's association in this Sangha altogether is so beautiful. So if you have a songbook, we can turn to page 99. And we're going to sing Jayanilo Premadana, and all of our hearts together collectively, we can really call out in the mood of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. We can call out to Srila Haridas Thakur today on his appearance day, and to Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. Call out for them to continue to shower their blessings so that we can meet like this to speak about their glories and hear their Vani.
Radhika, which song? Because we have different songbooks.
Jai Anilo Premadhana.
Jai Anilo.
Just one more thing, just before, because I forgot. I promised Shripanemi Maharaj that I would. I just saw your message, Maharaji. That's why I said that. I promised Shripat Siddhanti Maharaji that I would say is that you know, my beloved masters, he has done an audio book for that, which will be coming out tomorrow. For everyone to access. So if you're on the move and you want to listen to it about a personality, that will be on available for anyone to download and listen to on the way, and it will be on my Facebook. So if anyone wants to hear it, you can access it through my Facebook. Thank you.
Jayanila Premadhana Karuna Pracho Jayanila Premadhana Karuna Pracho Hena Prabhu Kotha Gela Acharya Thakur Hena Prabhu Kotha Gela Bharati Goswami Thakur Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanata Kaha Mora Swarup Rupa Kaha Sanata Kaha Dasa Ragwanata Patita Pavan Kaha Dasa Ragwanata Patita Pavan Kaha Mora Bhata Juga Kaha Kavira Kaha Mora Bhata Juga Kaha Kavira Eka Kale Kotha Gela Gauranatara Eka Kale Kotha Gela Gauranatara Pasane Koti Matha Anale Pashima Pasane Koti Matha Anale Pashima Gauranga Gunira Nidhi Kotha Gele Baba Gauranga Gunira Nidhi Kotha Gele Baba Se Sabha Sangiram Sange Je Koilo Bila sabasangiro sange je koila bila se sangana paya kane narotama da se sangana paya kane narotama da je anilo premadhana karuna prachur je anilo premadhana karuna prachur henna prabhu kathangela acharya thakur henna prabhu kathangela bharati maharaj thakur jaya vaishnav 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 thakur jaya guru deva jaya guru deva guru deva jaya guru deva jaya guru deva jaya guru deva guru deva jaya guru deva jaya jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol
Haribo, Haribo.
I think everyone can unmute and share the love.
Haribo, Jai Radhe,
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj,
Haribo, Haribo.
Shasane, Hare Krishna, Bhagavan Maharaj, Hare Krishna, Radhika, Ji Pavana Prabhuji,
Jai Haribo.
Yashodhananda Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Ashram Maharaj, Haribo,
Haribo Maharaj,
Alinde, Hare Krishna,
Haribo, Madhuri Didi,
Charu, Haribo, Madhuri, Hare Krishna.
I'm doing arts with my mouth on all the Vaishnavas.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Mahaprasadam ki.
Shampriya, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So beautiful to see. Okay, Hari Bo.
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat pranams, everybody.
Dandavat to all, Hare Krishna.
Jani Maharaj, Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna. Jiva Pavana Prabhu ki jai.
Raghavat Pandit.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Bo.
Chandrika Didi ki jai. Dandavat.
Maharaj, Hari Bo. It's Madhuri Rhoda. Much love to you.
Thank you from my heart, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. Thank you so much, everyone. It was so beautiful.
I think more than 70.
Yeah.
The program tomorrow?
No. No, Haribol, no Tarun.
Today's the last day.
Of this program, yes. I'll always keep you posted. No worries. Haribol.
Haribol. We have a program tonight. Yeah, we have a program tonight
What program is that?
in Richmond Hill, Liberty Avenue. That's Krishna Mohan, backyard. He wants to have a program every Monday, or as many Mondays as possible. Monday is his best time for business. Take a drive.
Yashoda Prabhu, you're muted.
Radhika Didi, I love you.
I love you too.
Hare Krishna.
Hey, Raghav Pandit.
Radhe Radhe. Hare Krishna. Haribol. Dhanyavad. Pranams.
It is the same. You are the same one that messages me, right? I'm not getting it wrong.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay. Good. How I don't want to get it wrong and start asking you how the cows are doing and how's work and stuff, and it'd be a bit weird.
Cow Seva.
Yeah, that's super cool. So we're waiting for you to sing next. So I hope Mridanga's ready somewhere, you know, and a kartal.
I know.
Something, even if there's nothing.
You know the song. You know the song Krishna Govinda Hare.
Yeah.
You know how it goes. Only 7, 7, and 14 syllables. Was slightly unusual. I looked at it for 45 years. Then I went to go to a mission in Mumbai, and they taught me right away how to sing it.
How do you sing it?
You want to try it? Krishna Govinda Hare. Try one line at a time. Krishna Govinda Hare.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
Gopi Ballabha Shore.
Gopi
Ballabha Shore.
Gopi Ballabha Shore.
Gopi Ballabha Shore.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
Krishna
Govinda Hare.
Srinivasa Damodara.
Srinivasa
Damodara.
Srinivasa Damodara.
Srinivasa Damodara.
Put that off, please. Shri Rama Murare.
Shri Rama Murare.
Srinivasa Damodara.
Srinivasa
Damodara.
Shri Rama Murare.
Shri
Rama.
Shri Rama Murare.
Shri
Rama.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
Krishna Govinda
Hare.
Nanda Nandana Madhava.
Nandana Madhava.
Nanda Nandana Madhava.
Nanda Nandana Madhava.
Nishinga Kangsare.
Nrsinga Kamsare.
Nishinga Kangsare.
Nrsinga Kamsare.
Hare.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
Gopi Ballabha Shore.
Gopi Ballabha.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
Krishna Govinda Hare.
If you look at the song, it's actually it's the Maha Mantra plus. It's the basic Maha Mantra plus, like a flower just beginning to open.
Yes.
This opens up to some extra notes. So it's the same Krishna Govinda Hare. Right? Gopi Ballabha Shode, you know what that means, right? Hero.
No, I'm going to say no.
Heroic.
Okay.
So anyway, it's Krishna Govinda Hare, Gopi Ballabha Shode, Krishna Govinda Hare, Srinivasa Damodara, Shri Rama Murare, Shri Rama Murare, Srinivasa Damodara. So they embellish more there. The same Maha Mantra with a slight opening up the flower.
Wow.
Actually, I like this.